Good evening, Vacaville. This is the regularly scheduled City Council meeting of the Vacaville City Council, March 24, 2026 at 6 p.m. Roll call.
Council Agency Authority Member Stockton.
Here.
Ritchie.
Here.
Chapman. Here. Freeman.
Here.
Wiley. Here. Vice Mayor, Vice Chair Silva.
Here.
Mayor Chair Carley.
Here. With that, we will, if you're able, please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge. Councilmember Ritchie, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes. Ready? Go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. We did not have any closed session tonight for members of the audience. Any changes to tonight's agenda? All right, with that, do I have a motion?
Motion approved agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Well, we're going to have to do roll calls tonight because we've got, so sorry about that, but roll call, please.
Councilmember Stockton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Here. Yes.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Yes.
Mayor Carley.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to reports of the City Council. Anybody wishing to report out on any meetings or boards? Vice Mayor Silva.
Actually, thank you. So, just make comment, actually was out at the Capitol today talking about AB 1159. So the AB 1159 is something that State Senator Cabaldon put forth as a means to look at how city government, local government can actually better respond to artificial intelligence bots, basically concerning flooding inboxes and oversaturating our resources that distract us from actually serving our real people. So that moved out of that committee and is going to continue to move forward throughout the legislation. So we're interested to see how we as a city jump on many other cities, along with Cal cities, to support that or otherwise. Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Wiley. Sorry.
I attended last week, along with several other people, the State of the Base at Travis, and it was just really a very comprehensive look at everything that they are doing all around the world, and they highlighted the great innovative work that people are doing. And it was really interesting. I'll just say one thing. The dental department is saving the base. You know, they're saving the people's teeth and helping people have good dental health, but they're also able to use molds to make parts for the, you know, the airplanes when they need an extra part. So it was just really interesting to hear how the dental department was so involved with everything as well. So it was a wonderful thing that we have in our county, the Air Force Base, and how they are helping all over the world. And then last night we had a park meeting in District 6, the new park, so that was exciting to see. And while this isn't a city council event, on Friday night there was the Solano Community Foundation celebration, and they are celebrating 30 years of work. So what they are trying to do is get all the nonprofits in our area kind of consolidated so donors can know how to give money to nonprofits who are doing great work. So if you're a nonprofit and you're not registered with Solano Community Foundation, I encourage you to look at them. And if you are a donor looking to help people, groups in need, to help others throughout our community, it was really wonderful. So it was a great celebration of their first 30 years and how they're really taken off to try to increase the philanthropy in Solano County. And lastly, I don't think we'll have another city council meeting before Easter, so I encourage everyone to check out the activities through Parks and Rec with the bunnies and the bonnets and all the things that we have for kids or grandkids, and just, it's really great that we have so many community events through our Parks and Rec for people in town. That's it.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember Ritchie, did you have something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to just kind of, Councilman Wiley kind of took exactly what I was going to say. I'll make it kind of shorter. A lot of us were at the state of the base. She did a great recap. Just really one of the things that kind of touched me is just like this room's full of empty chairs. That's the base right now. So just like have your prayers, and just, there's a lot of people that are from our community that are not here right now, that are overseas and flying. The amount of impact Travis has on the world and on war is significant. So we learned that. So keep people in your prayers. But we're able to have safety and security here. They're fighting around the world to make sure that we have safety here. So just keep them in your prayers.
Vice Mayor Silva?
And two quick things. One, it was actually an honor to listen to a Holocaust survivor with the mayor Sunday at the Shabbat. Still really processing her story, although I think a lot of us are familiar with stories, but hearing a 93-year-old woman, spruce chicken, the rabbi called her, it was pretty special. And her honesty and integrity was something that'll stick with me, I think, for the rest of my life. Second thing, along those lines, about how we do the best we can throughout our lives, I got to get shout out to scouts from Troop 897, kids from POW, Police Activities League, other community members that stepped up to help out another great community service project along the Markham Avenue retaining wall. I hear there's going to be an effort coming to us to maybe name that or classify it as the Camino de Mariposas. There are 7 planter boxes installed, and then pollinator, drought-resistant pollinator plants placed in there. And they already have community members willing to step up to water it. So it's always really cool to see kids actually step up and learn and work pretty well together. It's pretty amazing. So shout out to those youth.
Yeah, thank you. It was quite a spectacular message from her, Eva Schneider. And also on that particular event, I was able to, and the rest of the council, you'll see this, Education Day, a proclamation that usually comes out each year. And so that was presented during that event. On Saturday, the American Legion 165 honored the Boys and Girls State Citizens for Vacaville. They represent some of the best and the best, and their selection process is pretty amazing. And then they go on to Sacramento in the summertime and represent the program and the process. And to hear their stories the other night, it was quite spectacular at the Betts Hall. So that was special. And these young men and women were spectacular in their presentation, and clearly they're stepping into leadership in the future. So that was fantastic. Just one last thing on the state of the base, so everyone understands, just like there's a state of the city, the 3 things that they focus on for Team Travis is being mission ready, being family resilient, and installation resilience as well. So the family resilience, kind of the interesting thing, the number 1 issue is childcare. Realizing that the mission's overseas and they've got families back here. And then also the installation resilience was based on energy. And they are having an event the end of April, the weekend of the 25th. That weekend is their air show, and they are going to have it regardless of what's going on internationally. And it should be something that, for our community, something that also will be an incredible time. They will likely be showcasing that one of their 2 runways that's been closed for a couple of years is opening. So a lot of great things. We're always focused on making sure that the Team Travis is clearly part of our community, and so it was good to see a lot of us there that day. I just want to ask real quick, Councilmember Stockton or Councilmember Chapman, did you have anything that you wanted to report out?
I do not
I have
have
no
a
report.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to reports of the city manager. Any reports tonight?
No reports tonight. Thank you.
All right. And so with that, there's no presentations. We will move on to the consent calendar. Any member of the council or the public wishing to pull an item for discussion, this would be the opportunity to do so. Items A through M. Hearing none, do I have a motion?
Motion approved. Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman,
yes,
Councilmember Freeman,
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley,
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silva,
Yes.
Mayor Carley.
Yes. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to business from the floor. This is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any item that is within our jurisdiction that's not on tonight's agenda. Please come forward and address the council. Good evening.
My statement given at the March 18th neighborhood meeting. The erection of a 3-story Islamic worship center in Vacaville raises some germane questions. Any building erected dedicated to an organization within Vacaville city limits should enhance the peace and prosperity of the community. The history of Islam is filled with discord and destruction generated from the teachings and example of Islam's founder Muhammad and the instructions he received ostensibly from an angel, which are recorded in Islam's holy book, the Quran. An example of one of the Quran's instructions is from Surah, that is section 9, verse 29, which states, "Fight those of the people of the book," meaning Christians and Jews, "who do not truly believe in God in the last day." The term jihad appears several times in the Quran and can be interpreted as struggle or striving, either spiritual or physical. Jihad's obvious meaning is illustrated in the fact that physical jihad warfare was committed extensively in the 7th and 8th centuries, initiated by Muhammad himself. To the extent of 5 million square miles. That's people dying, bloodshed, rape, the whole 9 yards. The founder of Islam. Islamic violence continues to persist. A report from the French Foundation pour l'Innovation Politique states, between 1979 and April 2024, we recorded 66,872 Islamic attacks worldwide. These attacks caused the deaths of at least 249,941 people. That's 250,000 people. Also reported, Islamic attacks around the world are more numerous today than ever before. Will all Muslims in name follow Muhammad's pattern of violence? No, but the option is always there in the Muslim belief system. Placing a 3-story Islamic worship center within the city limits of Vacaville would no doubt cause many, if not most, of the community citizens concern, if not outright anxiety. Vacaville has a reputation of being a peaceful, orderly city, a fact which is aided in its development and population growth. I doubt seriously that a large Muslim worship center, which might place Islamic Sharia law above the United States Constitution and local law, would add to the betterment of Vacaville. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Here I am once again. A couple weeks ago, I had a pretty long phone conversation with a gentleman whose name I don't remember, who was doing the research on how to best sell the proposed city sales tax increase to the public. And, you know, one of the things that I thought I'd understood when I kind of dozed my way through the city staff presentation was that it's somehow, some way, there was some magical system by which the city sales tax could not go beyond 9-point-something%. And so I thought, well, okay, you know, it's better that we do it to ourselves than some outside entity. But then I looked at surrounding city sales taxes and in Alameda County and such, there's city sales taxes that exceed 10%. And it occurred to me that, okay, this is where Vacaville is headed. A sales tax is regressive. It hurts the lower class, lower earning people. All of you guys at one time or another have spoken about how much you care about the people who don't make so much money, but yet the sales tax is going to hurt them. You won't feel it. I won't feel it very much. Some person that's getting by on $40,000 a year is going to feel it very much. Just be thinking of that. In in the agenda tonight, on the things that you just got through saying aye about, there was several $1 million being spent on a sewer project and slurry seal. Those things are important. Those things the city has to have. It takes a lot of money. I get that. Last year, last year, the city spent $20 million on solar panels on the promise, the projection, that you'll save money in 24, over the course of 24 years. Well, that's all speculative and there's no guarantees. The fact is that you spent money now that you don't have, and then you want to go to the public and ask for a tax increase. Might be thinking about that because people are beginning to pay attention. Hearing all the corruption coming out of Sacramento, people are noticing how much money government spends. And speaking of government spending, let's not forget California Forever, which of course certain of you seem to be very, very enamored of, which California Forever doesn't fulfill any of their so-called promises unless they do it on the taxpayers' back to the tune of billions of dollars.
Thank you. Good evening.
Honorable board members and staff, my name is Leah Asensio, and I'm here tonight to represent Solano Resource Conservation District. I'm here to provide a brief overview of our programs and the impact we've had on the community, and also share a quick update since we've recently completed our 2025 year in review. Solano RCD has enjoyed a long-standing productive partnership with the City of Vacaville, and we've been able to move quickly on several different projects, which I'll give you an overview of today. 2025 was a milestone year for us, marked by environmental and community impact across the county. Our work was recognized with 2 honors, the 2025 Excellence in Public Education and Outreach Award and the Distinguished Contributions Award for Environmental Education. We reached 10,600 students this year through our environmental education programs, and we hosted 17 workshops for the broader community. Our team planted over 2,000 trees and shrubs, and we seeded 53 acres with native grasses and wildflowers. Thanks to nearly 2,000 volunteers across 59 events, we successfully collected over 27,000 pounds of trash from our waterways and open spaces. We also expanded our fire resiliency efforts, including 100 acres of prescribed burns, and we established a grazing cooperative for fuel reduction. These results were only possible due to the support of our regional and local partners. We're proud to be an organization that brings agencies together to turn these conservation and education goals into action. And we're especially grateful to Mayor Carley and the Solano County Water Agency for providing bridge funding for our education programs this year, and we hope that that bridge funding can continue in the future as well. We welcome the opportunity to return and present a more detailed update specifically tailored to the work that we do here that benefits your community directly. I provided a document that has an overview of all these numbers that I shared with you today, as well as on the other side it has more specifics about our impact in Vacaville specifically. Thank you so much for your continued partnership in keeping Solano County resilient and our youth engaged in science. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Hello.
Let me start this over for you. Good evening.
I have 2 points. One for my father. He has a concern on Monte Vista and Allison that there needs to be like pylons set up because there's like a bunch of people that come down Monte Vista and they make that right turn and they immediately try to go for a left turn. And like in multiple occasions, almost an accident occurs. And he just asked me to say that to you guys. Now I'm here for the passage of California's digital Age Assurance Act, AB 1043. It is set to take effect January 1st of 2027 and being sold as a public necessity to protect children, but in reality, it's just a step towards mass surveillance embedded into our everyday devices that we all consume and use every day. The legislation is a very vague policy that's been lobbied by big companies as a measure to declare the age range on the user. So I'm pretty sure 100% of you guys have a device, whatnot, that you use every day. It's just a stepping stone to transform our smartphones into a constant surveillance system. This is a foot in the door to set up a point to where once right now they have your age, but before you know it, they're going to ask for your name, your address, they're going to want a photo of your ID, and they're just going to ask for more and more and more, and just as means to keep track of you. The most telling detail of this law that's soon to be passed is major tech 10 companies like Google, Meta, and OpenAI have lobbied in favor of it and kept it intentionally very vague so they have the room to add more to it in the coming future. Similarly to the last city council meeting, I didn't understand the battery policy that you guys passed. I was even confused. I saw the news here and I was like, what is that about? I didn't know until I went home, looked it up, and I saw, oh, you can't just ban companies coming in and doing that, but you can add policies restricting it, and which I realized that's what you guys are doing, and I understood there could be a misunderstanding there. But these companies, they aren't doing that. They're just outsourcing verification to the operating system to absolve their responsibility, just to keep, as a means to just keep mining data on all of us as users. Furthermore, we are being told that it's under the guise as to protect children from seeing media and whatnot, but there's other forms of measures you could take to prevent a child. For example, there's internet blockages or even parental features that they just refuse to just consider. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Mayor and members of the council and staff. My name is Abid Ahmad. I've been a Vacaville resident for over 25 years. My parents came to California as refugees from Afghanistan in the late 80s. Vacaville quickly became their new home where they built a life and raised 4 kids here. My dad has worked as a bus driver for over 20 years, while my mom had worked for the Head Start centers around town for many years herself. Some of my earliest memories of my hometown are of growing up in a house right across from Alamo Elementary, right next to Bethany Lutheran Church. For my family and many others, the mosque on Bush Street became a central gathering place, not just for prayer, but for potlucks, community events, and holidays that brought families together. For more than 25 years, that mosque has quietly served a growing community of Vacaville residents. What began as a small group of families has grown into hundreds of residents gathering during services every year. That growth is what has led to discussions about expanding a space the community has maintained through decades of volunteer work, building improvements, and plenty of care. Last week, I attended the informational meeting at the McBride Senior Center regarding the planning application to expand this mosque. I arrived around 7 p.m. after the meeting had been underway for at least an hour. The room was packed and the atmosphere was clearly tense. I sat down next to a family friend who I immediately noticed the look on his face, eyes red, visibly exhausted, struggling to focus. He honestly looked shell-shocked. Many of us were fasting that day for Ramadan, which meant people had been in that room for hours without food or water. You can imagine just how draining that experience had already become. Despite that tension, I'm here today to commend the city staff who facilitated that meeting. They remained professional, patient, and committed to allowing everyone the opportunity to speak. In what was a very difficult environment, they upheld the civic process with lots of composure. I also want to thank the Vacaville police officers present that evening. Their calm presence helped ensure everyone could participate safely during a very emotional meeting. Finally, I want to thank Vice Mayor Silva. After reading many discouraging and divisive comments online in the days surrounding the meeting, I came across your message reaffirming your commitment to serve Vacaville, everyone in Vacaville with respect and fairness. Those words mattered, they were noticed, and they were appreciated. Vacaville has always been a community where people can build their lives, raise good families, and practice their faith peacefully. The decisions made in this chamber and the city help shape what kind of community Vacaville continues to be. Hopefully we're one where people feel welcomed, respected, and treated equally. I trust my hometown will approach this process thoughtfully, fairly, and with the long-term unity of our community in mind. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Em, you can come forward. You've been waiting patiently back there, and I don't think anybody saw that you were up next, but no, that's fine. Good evening.
I want to thank you for the town hall meeting you had the other night regarding the budget shortfall. And my concern, and I spoke about that when I was there, is about the widening of Browns Valley Road to 4 lanes. And I wonder what the outreach was, because I never heard about it until I made a phone call. I was actually wondering, why hasn't Allison Drive continued through? I bought a house here 20 years ago, and my partner bought his house here 40 years ago. So it was on the original map showing that you would have Allison Drive would continue all the way over to Allison Parkway. And I understand that widening project is ready to start this year, and yet on your website I could not find any information about what the projected budget is, because on each of those projects on your website it shows the engineer's estimate, I guess. So I couldn't find that. I did find the name of the project manager, Dwayne Thai, Thai, but when I called the city, I called planning and I called Public Works, and nobody knows who that is or could give me a phone number. But I did send him an email and I haven't heard back on that. So my concern is that widening that road to 4 lanes, I think, just creates a bigger speedway, because right now even crossing guards who have to get out there with their sign have cars just driving by, and I think it's 40 miles an hour, but people are doing 50 out there. So making it 4 lanes I don't think is the resolution. And again, when that project starts, you're going to have a lot of disruption in traffic flow, and we already have like 25 cars backed up in the evening coming home from work, and maybe another 25 cars backed up waiting for the light to turn green going to work or taking kids to school. So I'd like to find out more about it, and how come Allison Drive never continued all the way through, which would have alleviated quite a bit of the traffic right there on Browns Valley Parkway and Browns Valley Road. So.
Yeah, well, thank you. What I'd like you to do is speak with our Public Works Director, Brian Oxley, who's here.
Okay.
And maybe you can actually connect and find some time to speak, because you took the time to come down here and ask the question.
Because I did go to planning, and I did go over to Public Works, and I spoke to a man named Amir, and he was going to research some of that for me. I was also concerned about Centennial Park, because apparently they're going to put in like a dirt track for bicycles or maybe off-road vehicles, and I'm very concerned about that as well.
Well, thanks for sharing. Brian is in the back, and you can probably have that conversation with him tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else before I close business from the floor? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to public hearings. Madam City Clerk, what do we have tonight?
So our first item is an ordinance amending Title III, Revenue and Finance of the City of Vacaville Municipal Code by updating Chapter 3.16, Transient Occupancy Tax, to strengthen enforcement and modernize administration. And tonight we have Assistant Finance Director Leslie Hoover and her team here to present.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. Tonight, we are presenting the first reading of the updated Transient Occupancy Tax Ordinance. This is a comprehensive modernization of Chapter 3.16 of the Municipal Code, which hasn't been updated since 2003. The goal is to strengthen enforcement, clarify responsibilities, align the ordinance with current and legal administrative practices. So the purpose, why are we updating the ordinance? Our current ordinance is outdated, having not been updated since 2003. It lacks many of the tools modern municipal tax administration requires. Currently, there are gaps in enforcement and authority, unclear provisions around operator liability, and outdated processes for exemptions, audits, and appeals. These issues make compliance more challenging, delay the timely collection of revenues, and the process overall is inefficient as it currently stands. In addition, in the recent years, you may remember we've had a few hoteliers that we've had issues with collecting who've either failed to pay on time or failed to pay at all. So what's changed? Heather's going to provide more detail in the next slides, but on a high level, we've updated definitions with modern titles and consistent language. We've replaced criminal enforcement with civil enforcement for faster, more effective action. We've clarified operator responsibility for TOT payments. We've also added short-term rental language to future-proof the ordinance. The city doesn't currently have short-term rentals, but if that were allowed later on down the road, it would be triggered at that time. So why it matters, it helps protect the overall process, city resources, and city revenues. And so now I will pass it on to Heather, and she will go through some of the key improvements.
Thanks, Leslie. So first of all, just kind of going through these key improvements. First on tax collection and exemption, we've updated some of the requirements around tax exemptions and clarified the documentation needed. So this just kind of tightens and clarifies the language in the ordinance, and it kind of closes some of the existing gaps that were existing in the ordinance, so that has been updated. We've also updated the transient occupancy tax and how it's remitted to the city. This just clearly defines it and makes it really clear for operators going forward. This also allows it to be a lot more reliable and gives clearer guidance to the operators as well. Next, on the registration and enforcement, we've strengthened the city's enforcement authority and clarified the rules around operator certifications. We've also clarified how the city tax funds must be handled and reinforced the city's ability to ensure that these funds are properly managed and paid. In addition, we've included language to address short-term rental platforms, as Leslie discussed, should they be approved in the future. This just keeps us from having to make changes to the ordinance if needed. Regarding penalties and appeals, we've updated the language to provide clear definitions, removing vague terms, and establishing consistent timelines and guidance for staff and operators. This includes improvements to the appeals process. This makes it more clearer and more straightforward. Next slide. So moving on to audits, liens, and enforcement. So we've improved the city's audit process to make sure taxes are collected and reported correctly. We've also clarified how records are accessed. We've added some clear steps for audit requirements, and we've included enforcements for any audit findings. So we've tightened and clarified some of those processes. The city's authority has also been expanded when it comes to liens, even beyond local limits. This gives us stronger tools for tax collection and enforcement. In addition, the city can now use multiple collection methods at the same time. This helps us move enforcement forward more efficiently while still protecting the city's interests. In addition, we've shifted enforcement and updated our overall approach. I know Leslie had touched on this. It's making the process simpler. It's modernizing the process and moving it away from a criminal to a civil enforcement. And this just gives staff practical tools to help ensure that the compliance is enforced, and it makes the process much easier. Next slide. So overall, these updates, it really clarifies the ordinance. It really provides the city with better tools to collect the tax, all while strengthening the overall process involved. These changes make responsibilities clearer for both the hotel operators and city staff, creating a more consistent and transparent process. We've added clear enforcement steps, including the refined processes for audits, liens, and appeals, ensuring there's proper avenues for enforcement. And overall, these updates make the system easier to manage and more efficient moving forward. And with that, I'll turn it back to Leslie for next steps.
Thanks, Heather. So we're on recommendations and next steps. By title only, introduce the subject ordinance and waive the first reading, and find that said action is not a project under CEQA because it involves administrative actions of the city and will not result in a direct or indirect physical change of the environment. For next steps, we're looking at a second reading and proposed adoption of the ordinance scheduled for April 14th. And then if adopted, the ordinance would become effective on May 14th and published accordingly. And with that, we will take any questions or comments.
Any questions from the council before I open up the public hearing? Councilmember Wiley?
Just one quick question. Is there any distinction between the size of the hotel, or do all the hotels in town have the same rules for this?
Yeah, so all the hotels are subject to the TOT. They're all at the 8%, so they're all, regardless of size, they're all at the same rate.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no questions from the council, I'm going to go ahead and open up the public hearing portion of this. So if any member of the public wishes to either comment or ask questions, this would be the time. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. And I'd like to ask, is there any questions from our remote council members, Councilmember Chapman or Councilmember Stockton?
No questions from me.
Okay.
I have no questions.
All right. Well, with that, I appreciate the work done to clean this up. This is really a lot of administrative and future proofing and making it durable for the future. So appreciate the work done on this. And with that, I will ask for a motion.
Motion approved.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Roll call.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Carley?
Yes. And thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to item B. Madam City Clerk.
Yes, our next item is a resolution establishing application and appeals fees for sidewalk vending permits pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 5.40 of the Vacaville Municipal Code, and Fire Marshal Jill Childers and Assistant City Manager Georgianne Megger-Smith are making the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the council. We have a very brief presentation for you tonight. A little bit of background. On November 3rd, City Council held a study session on options for enacting a sidewalk vending regulatory program. In February, City Council held the first and second readings of a proposed ordinance on sidewalk vending, and you also adopted that ordinance. The ordinance provided that staff will return to council to enact a set of fees associated with implementing the ordinance, and that is why we're here tonight. So the fees on the screen are those that we're proposing for both the permit application, renewal, and appeal. Staff did do some research on what other agencies charge for sidewalk vending permits, since we don't currently have one, and they range from as low as $25 to as high as $650. The majority of them were in the $125 range, and so we thought that was a good starting point. The proposed fees are intended to capture staff time associated with permit and appeal review, while also remaining low enough to incentivize compliance with the regulatory program. We do kind of view this as a little bit of a pilot period, and so after 1 year, once we kind of see how the permits come in, how many we get, how many touches they really need, if we need to, we would come back to council to request a fee update if necessary, either an increase or decrease based on that experience. And so the recommendation tonight is that City Council open the public hearing, accept any comments, and by simple motion, adopt the proposed resolution establishing application and appeals fees for sidewalk vending permits pursuant to Chapter 5.40 of the Vacaville Municipal Code. And we are open to any questions or comments.
Yeah, thank you. Councilmember or Vice Mayor Silva.
Thank you for the overview. What's the difference between somebody pursuing a sidewalk vending permit versus a business who's pursuing a business license? Are we treating these differently, or there's something in law that views these differently? And I asked that because we just went out for a survey asking about feedback on if we should increase business fees and that the data came back? No. So I'm just wondering, how does this line up with that?
I mean, they are a little bit different, so I don't know if Jill wants to, I don't know if you have any comments on that.
No, I don't. I mean, I'm somewhat familiar with the business license process, so every business within the city is required to have a business license if they're going to operate, and so there are procedures through finance that they follow to apply for that business license. This is slightly different. It's just for the sidewalk vending. They would have to still get a business license as well to operate within the city limits. That's part of the checklist that they also have to fill out here. So this is strictly just to process their application to be a sidewalk vendor.
Okay, and then the process is, so this is to still go through the process and see what comes about it. I guess my one concern is, why are we treating one business different than another from a city perspective? So, but I think I'll be able to answer that throughout this process.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other questions from the council, I will go ahead and open up this public hearing and accept comment. Good evening.
Is this about the pop-up shops like you see over by Winco, for example? Or like where they have like the meat hanging up? Is that what this is about?
Well, so just give me your questions, and what I'll end up doing is to have staff discuss it. So share whatever your concern is. Go ahead and share.
I guess it's the same. I guess I'm just adding on with Vice Mayor said. Why is it being, if they already have to get a business license, why would they be treated differently? That's just adding on more layers to something that I don't see quite needs it.
Yeah, thank you. And good evening.
My name is Winnell Ulrich, and I've lived in this town for a very, very long time. Grew up here. We've got 5 generations of family here. And the constant, well, what seems to be aggressive street vending that seems to be going on around this town is very inconsistent with what we've understood Vacaville to be. We're not Olivera Street down in LA. And I've got several friends that are small business owners and restaurant owners, and they have to go through quite a bit to be able to operate their business. They've got investments in brick and mortar buildings. The cost and the overhead of running restaurants is, the margin is very low on that. I would think that you guys would know that. And I'm really concerned that this is a trend that will take away from the merchants in Vacaville. And we've got a glut of still unleased commercial buildings, and why we would be aggressively pursuing street vendors when we still have brick and mortar buildings that are not being fully utilized. It's a concern, and I just found out that you guys were even having the hearing on this, so I apologize for not being more prepared with more specific information, but it is a concern to a lot of people. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this. And what I would like to ask staff, if you could, just address from the perspective of where the law is. And the question or the comment is that somehow we're aggressively pursuing something that we want versus responding to the changes that require us, because the rights of people to be able to do publicly, that is not something that the council can interfere with. Could you please comment on that?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And to your point, we're not aggressively pursuing sidewalk vendors at all. We did just need to set up a process so that we can kind of regulate them as they come in, because they are moving throughout the community. And we are also separate from the pop-up vendors when we're talking about the food vendors that are setting up with tents and parking lots and areas like that. Those are not regulated, cannot be regulated by this ordinance or this fee. So it's very different, separate types of businesses that we're looking at here, but we're not aggressively pursuing those or sidewalk vendors.
And to create a standard, the fee structure, is this something that as a pilot or as you're working through this, you'll be able to identify, once we have an efficient, streamlined process, how much time and how does that correlate to a fee for time so that we can be good stewards of the fact that we're asking for a fee, but it's really for the service of time. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Councilmember Wiley?
So I wanted to follow up with your comments. You said the $125 that you had on the screen is for processing the application. So about how much is the rest of the application if they have to get all the business license and everything else? About what would it cost for a sidewalk vendor to complete all the cost before this 125?
I mean, the only other real cost, I mean, they would need to provide insurance as part of that, and I think we've talked about that before, that it's about $35 a month by our estimates and some quotes we got. I don't know exactly how much a business license fee is. I don't have that information handy at the moment, but really those are the only costs associated with it.
We can have Ken provide the information.
That'd be great.
And then the 125 on this is like for at the first year, and then the
Yes, and then
75 would be the following years once they've already provided the information.
Correct. Yes, the renewal is 75.
I have it here.
Good evening. So for the business license, it is employee-based, and so for like a single employee, you're probably looking at something in the $50 to $65 range.
Per year?
Yes.
Thank you. And to our city attorney, could you just speak to the legal freedoms that individuals have so that it's clearly understood from the public that this isn't something that from a business perspective that we can interfere, especially when we hear things like the brick and mortars. I mean, those are real businesses, but the truth is that the state has stepped in on this.
Yes, Mayor, effective January 1st of 2018, the legislature passed legislation that says that we are not allowed to preclude people from sidewalk vending based on their residency status, those types of things. It really limited the city's ability to regulate those type of vendors. The ordinance that was adopted in VMC 5.04 specifically designed to regulate vendors on the sidewalks. The pop-up areas that you see around town that are kind of, they've shown up in the public right-of-way, they've shown up in some private parking lots, they've shown up at the park and ride. Those types of operations are subject to different enforcement under our code enforcement and other sections of our municipal code. This section is specifically designed to regulate the people walking up and down sidewalks with a cart, like ice cream cart, something like that. The permitting process allows staff to kind of have a record of who is out there and who is permitted to do this so that we can ensure that there is compliance with the health and safety code relating to food service. So this is all about just trying to responsibly regulate something according to the state law that's been implemented. And as part of that state law, we are not allowed to consider impacts on brick and mortar operations. This is a completely separate thing. And so there's no, the city is not pursuing these sorts of businesses. These are happening in our community. The actions that were taken by the council last month and this action tonight is designed for us to have some mechanism in accordance with state law to kind of regulate what's going on in our community, to keep it safe for our residents, and also allow the opportunity that the state says that we need to provide for sidewalk vendors in our city.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Councilmember Wiley?
That was it.
Okay. Vice Mayor Silva?
Thank you. So just a real quick question, would this apply to minors setting up, in what ways would this apply to minors that are setting up like a snow cone stand or Girl Scout cookies or whatever it might be?
As we stated during our initial presentation for the ordinance itself, we would not be looking to go after those individuals. They're children.
Okay. And and I think just like for what it's worth, I think if someone has a business license, they are a business or a licensed business within our city. That's just my point of view. It's just a different business model. So if they're going through the process, they're a legit small business in my eyes. That said, I'm kind of curious. I mean, the whole purpose of the the Malaquias Montoya Center at the De Colores Park is to create a space that would allow for these type of businesses. So maybe ideally it'd be less impactful to other areas. I appreciate the comment about Olivera Street. I'm not sure how that was meant, but from one perspective, Olivera Street, that in itself is something that generates revenue for that space. It's something that pulls people to that community to celebrate culture, to celebrate life. And a lot of that influences the concept behind the De Colores Park and the Malaquias Montoya Center, a space where people can operate, start up their business as an incubator space out of a commercial kitchen. They got their indoor space and an event center, again, where people can celebrate life and culture, in a space that perhaps may be more welcoming or more accepting of that, to where it those business models may not fit in different parts of other residential areas. And I don't mean that to be negative or however we want to take it. There's different, people move into different neighborhoods throughout this town to embrace its own, what I call, subculture. And I think we all need to respect that. So I'm kind of curious to know where is that and what efforts has city staff gone to address the funding, to address the missing funding to go out for doing that. That's maybe for the city manager.
Sorry, got noise. The funding for what?
The De Colores Park and Malaquias Montoya Center. I know there's one funding a section that's missing. It seems like we're going out, finding funding for different programs. These items keep coming up. If we're going to talk about economic stimulus and how we generate revenue, that's the intent of that. So I'm just kind of curious where that's at.
Yeah, I can have our Housing and Community Services Director, Shamrock Holden, talk about it.
Mayor,
Yes.
point of order. I just want to make sure that we're not getting too far from the agendized item. So I would like to keep this line of discussion very brief and general, please.
Yeah, because the point of the public hearing has nothing to do with trying to redirect it to that. If that's a question for staff, let's just be careful to just keep it brief.
What we're waiting on is the Section 108 loan that was approved. That application was approved with our CDBG consolidated plan. And so we are awaiting those final loan documents from HUD to be received before execution.
So follow-up question, if it's allowed, is how would that project concept support efforts of sidewalk vending permitted businesses?
Okay, I think we're going too far. We have a business item, and now we're talking about De Colores Park and a business item. We can discuss that, and we can bring that back separately, but let's make sure we stay on this, because this isn't an actual public hearing.
Sure.
So that's all I'm saying.
Just to clarify, I'm just trying to, if we're going to go along this path, if we're going to go to an ordinance, I'd like to make this ordinance capture the ability for small business to operate in our existing approved projects. And maybe that's just a point. I know it's still a work in progress.
So from a legal standpoint, the council already adopted the ordinance regulating sidewalk vending several meetings ago. Tonight, we're just here about the permitting process specifically for the sidewalk vending under that newly adopted ordinance. In terms of expanding this permitting process to encompass other opportunities, I don't think staff is prepared to have that discussion this evening, and it hasn't been placed on the agenda, and so I'm not certain that it's appropriate for us to open that topic during this public hearing.
Thank you.
It's something that come up in a future meeting. Sure. Councilmember Freemel?
Yes, thank you. Could you tell me when somebody's applying for the business license, when they make their payment, will we be receiving information from them, who they are, contact information, perhaps a mailing address or anything like that?
Yeah, and point of clarification, do you mean a business license or the sidewalk vending permit application?
Sidewalk vending permit.
Yes, absolutely. All of that information is included in the application.
So if Cousin Eddie shows up in his motorhome, parks down at CVS and takes his popsicle cart down in front of the high school, and we know that Cousin Eddie is out there, we can go check on Cousin Eddie and make sure that so we'll know who's sitting in front of our high schools and in front of our schools, we'll know who they are, and if they're not, then there's going to be enforcement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'm going to check in on Councilmember Stockton and Councilmember Chapman. Do you have any questions in this hearing?
No questions from me.
All right, thank you. Well, with that, I think that this really is, and I do appreciate. Councilmember Stockton?
Yeah, sorry. There's kind of still even a delay over the phone. I apologize.
No, that's okay.
My question is that some of the business fees are associated with the number of employees. Is there a metric for the sidewalk vending if one business has a business permit and then pays for the sidewalk vending fee? Is there a limit to how many people are covered under one fee, or can they have as many people as they want if they pay that number?
There's not currently a limit on the number of employees a sidewalk vendor could have. Not sure if that addresses the question specifically.
I guess my question would then be, if there are going to be multiple vendors, I think that there should be scaling in the pricing, and I also think that we should have some sort of mechanism to identify who those employees are that are operating under that business license, since they're wandering, kind of like in public and they're not at a brick and mortar location. Is that something that could be put into this ordinance?
The employees are listed and is part of the application process, so we would have that information.
Yeah, for clarification also to the public who may not have the staff report, the actual application identifies who the vendor applicant is, who the agent or employer is. Section 3 is who are the employees, and so it covers all of that.
Yes.
And there's no limit.
There's no limit. I will say the business license piece does also capture the number of employees, and that is where there is some scale in the pricing.
Right. To our city attorney.
Okay, thank you.
I was just going to articulate what the assistant city manager said related to the difference. What you're considering tonight, the $125 is for the permit to be a sidewalk vendor. The business license is a separate process, and we do charge business license based on the number of employees. So it would be more for the more employees that you have.
So in a hypothetical, if you had a series of ice cream stands and you had 10 employees, your permit for a business might show that you've got 10 employees and you've got one sidewalk vending permit application listing them all. And so there would be one fee for the application, but your business license would be based upon a scale. Is that a fair assumption?
Yes.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Councilmember Stockton?
Yes, it does. I'm curious if there should be a fee based upon the number of sidewalk vendors underneath the permit, instead of it just being one umbrella, $125.
Yeah, I think the question for staff and to our city attorney would be, would that be creating a process that is, outside of a normal standard? I mean, if we're going to have a business license and it's going to be based upon the employees, what we're trying to do is understand in this who's out there, right? Because it's not a brick and mortar; it's a way to regulate. Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes. So basically, if the city should receive any complaints or concerns about any of the sidewalk vendors, it gives us direct contact information to reach out to those individuals and express those concerns with the owner of that business.
Okay. Yeah, to our city manager.
Yeah, just to add on to that, our finance director just shared with me, it's a service fee that has to be based on the cost, and we will need to wait for the data, so before we can analyze if we want to add additional costs. And it will also cost more to process a vendor with more employees, so we will have more data, and then we can do the reassessment after this pilot phase.
Yeah, it seems reasonable that the pilot, especially when we get efficient and we see how this is going to work, we'll know whether or not $125 is appropriate. Some cities apparently are up to $600. That seems high, but it really is as a basis of city time. So All right, Councilmember Freeman, do you have any other?
None.
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing. I think that there's been enough input on this item. This would be a good time to entertain a motion from a member of the council.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Vice Mayor Silva seconds it. Roll call.
Councilmember Freeman.
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley.
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silva.
Yes.
Mayor Carley.
Yes. Yeah, thank you for that. And I suppose you'll know, I think the key is how you will keep track of what it really takes so that when this is a standard practice, it's understood what it is, how much time it takes, and how many appeals we have. So I appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to business 12A, Madam City Clerk.
Yes, this next item is consideration and selection of Planning and Parks and Recreation Commissioners, and I can provide a quick overview for you if you'd like.
Thank you.
So in January, the City Council updated their commission appointment policy in anticipation of expiring commission terms on March 31st. The commission appointment policy included creation of an application review committee. And on February 9th, the application period closed. The applicant review committee reviewed commission applications from both the Planning Commission and the Parks and Rec Commission and provided the city with ranked lists of applicants for consideration, which has now been presented here. The mayor reviewed the lists and chose off of the ranked lists, and that is what is being presented here tonight, is the mayor's nominations for consideration and ratification.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I appreciate having a good policy, and it created a lot of extra work because there was a lot of members of the community that wanted to be part of this. So we only have 2 commissions, but it does reflect that there are those that are interested in wanting to serve on our commissions. Based upon that, within the Planning Commission, it's my desire and intent to reappoint Doug Beaumont, Bob Hampton, and John Wilkerson, and also to introduce David Leroy, who also is a Vacaville resident who's not here tonight. For me, if it's somebody new and none of you know them, some of you that are on the subcommittee that did the interviews, you had the chance to actually do the interviews, and so you might have more input. And then I also want to hear from any of the members of the Planning Commission or Parks and Rec Commission, maybe no more than a minute or two, just for the sake of time. Some of you are already known. And then on the Parks and Recreation Commission, to reappoint Blair Oz and Mark Frazier to the commission, and also introduce Jaden Clark, Kenya Serena, and Ryan Wold to be newly appointed commissioners if this council chooses to ratify. What I would like to do, if it's okay, is if any of you in the audience are here on the commissions, if you want to come forward to the podium and just share a few words, and especially if you're new from an introduction. Several of you couldn't make it, and I knew last minute, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to come before the council who ultimately will ratify these appointments. Anyone on the commission appointment list wishing to come forward? There you go, Mr. Beaumont. Somebody has to come up.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, thank you. I appreciate the reappointment pending the approval of the council. Hopefully you know me after 6 years on the Planning Commission. I share your values, and I'm here to answer any questions if you need me to answer any. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
No questions?
Good evening, Mayor.
Yeah, good
Council.
evening.
Hi, my name is Ryan Wold. Thank you for the nomination for the Parks and Recreation Commission. I've served in the public sector for most of my career, and I had an opportunity to work in the private sector supporting a lot of public engagement. So I look forward to bringing a technology perspective and an accounting perspective, and hopefully be able to engage our citizens with parks and recreation and ways to make the city a better place, and hopefully a way to increase the awareness of city staff to be more responsive to citizens. So thank you and good evening.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members. My name is Blair Oz, and just a few words. First, I want to thank Mayor Carley for the appointment. Secondly, I just wanted to, say that over the reappointment to the Parks and Recreation Commission, I just wanted to say that I'm really proud of the work that we've accomplished over the years, and I see a lot of great opportunities ahead. And of course, we, meaning not only the commission, the Arts Advisory Committee, of course, city department staff, city staff, and of course the council. But I think we've done some great work. So I'm looking to continue that pending, of course, ratification of the reappointment. I'm also just wanted to congratulate the other commissioners that are newly appointed. Looking forward to working with them. Congratulations to Commissioner Frazier as well. But lastly, also, I just wanted to take an opportunity to recognize outgoing commissioners, Commissioner Ralph Bruman and Commissioner Aisha Gutierrez. They were great to work with. I enjoyed really serving with them on the commission, and they were always committed to the city and bettering our parks and recreation efforts, and so I wish them the best and thank them for their service. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Frazier.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Again, I'm appreciative of, being nominated again. Hopefully it works out. But I've enjoyed the last 2 years. I'm deeply committed to Vacaville and to the recreation and parks part of Vacaville. I've loved serving for 2 years, and I look forward to 2 more. And thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. All right. While this hasn't technically been opened up to the public for comment, I just wanted to make sure that the introductions were done to the council. And with that, what I would like to hear also is any member of the council that was part of that interview process, just some feedback, because this was a new process.
Yes. I would love to make a comment.
Sure.
Thank you very much. And Mayor Carley, I want to thank you for providing me the opportunity to serve on the committee, on the steering committee. I will say that we can, oh my God, the individuals that submitted applications, that were interested in serving, becoming engaged in the city, was beautiful. It was beautiful to receive that many applications. I'm going to those who will be reappointed or will receive the appointment, I'm going to let you know that we had a lot of great candidates, and it became rather tough ranking them, ranking all the applicants upon the completion of their interview. So I want to thank everyone that did submit an application, and I would like to encourage them to stay engaged. There are many positions where they can volunteer, many committees that exist throughout the city, the arts. So I just want to thank you. Thank you for coming forward. So with that, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Chapman.
I have some comments too.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Stockton.
So I just wanted to say that I think the process worked extremely well. I wanted to thank former commissioners Kathleen Ramos and as well as Sean McMahon. Their insight was crucial towards this being an effective process. One of the things that I really want to make sure that the council and the community recognizes is we were really dialed in. There were great candidates, but the ones that rose to the top are the same names that I see that you brought up here, Mr. Mayor. And so I just wanted to commend the process for working, because across the group of interviewers, we all really saw the value that the individuals that you selected could bring. It was very consistent with our ranking, with some minor changes, but there were just some absolutely excellent candidates. The people that you have selected, I think, are exceptional, and I'm excited to see them be able to provide crucial insight to these different commissions to help move Vacaville forward in these different areas. So I just wanted to give you confidence that the names that you put forward, the names that the committee came up with were almost unanimous. But I'm very impressed with some of the people in our community with a desire to serve, and these are certainly some great individuals with a variety of different backgrounds and strengths.
Yeah, thank you for that. Now, with that, I'm going to formally open this up to the public for any member of the public wishing to comment. Seeing that everyone that was already speaking is already part of that process, so I'll bring them back to the council. And thank you for those comments. I will tell you, in putting forth the names for reappointment and ratification, I appreciated the work. I know that there was a lot of work that went into it, a lot of interviews, a lot of coordination. Thanks, staff, for trying to make that a process. In my experience, in my former role, I appreciate a process that works, that vets and allows the interview process to be a very robust but transparent one that this council and any future council can appreciate. And I do want to commend Councilmember Stockton and Councilmember Chapman for stepping into that role, and hopefully the rest of the council in this process feels good about this policy moving forward. I do know that staff, because there were so many, it was like, wow, if this is every year, what are we going to do? And I guess we'll just see year over year. But the positive was that there was a lot of people who want to participate. That was really good. And I can say that I'm thankful that there was a process to help vet that and to actually make that final nomination. So with that, I do want to see if there's any other comments on the council. Councilmember Wiley.
Welcome to all the new commissioners, although a lot of the commissioners are returning commissioners, because we have almost everyone that wanted to come back was recommended again, so we know they have experience. And I'm really glad that the process worked, because Councilmember Freeman and I, and along with Councilmember Chapman, were on the committee to look at the process, and we were so glad that it worked. It was quite a process with all the interviews and getting the other people able to, all scheduled to interview. The one concern I would like to see, we want the best people forward, but it would be nice if the best people were evenly distributed among the city. And I know that's not the focus, but I'm bringing it back. We are not doing it per district, but by my calculations, over 60% of the people that are now going to serve in commissions are from districts 1 and 2. And so if 60% are from districts 1 and 2, that leaves some districts unrepresented at all, and then just 40% with the other 4 districts. So it's just really nice, and I know that the commissioners will consider the whole city, and like we do too, but I did like it when we had commissioners from all over the city, just because it's nice to bring the points forward from all parts, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to run in the first place, because I thought people didn't pay attention to south of town and the traffic and the building and everything like that. So it is nice to feel like your district or your part of town is being represented. And along with just the part of town, there's a lot of women in this town, and we have very few women serving on commissions now. We have so like in the Planning Commission, the Parks and Rec, there will be 2, which is there's 70% men and 30% women, and then in the Planning Commission, there's only 1 woman. Ashley has been on. So it's, it's okay, but it would just be great to have, I'm happy that a lot of women were put forward, and I understand that the review committee and everyone did their best job, but I just wanted to make a comment about, it's certainly male-dominated and District 1 and 2 dominated, but those are my comments.
Yeah, thank you. Any other comments, Councilman or Vice Mayor Silva?
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Wiley, for the comments. I think, there's always unique opportunities that we have the opportunity to pursue or encourage more engagement, and then sometimes there's opportunities where we take steps back. My comments, I'm not going to rehash them. There's different processes to go about this. I agreed upon this process, and I honor that process. Another way I want to look at or kind of communicate the comments that Councilmember Wiley just made, our ability to live up and honor our First Amendment speech of what or who we support, however that might be, is essential. And if we're ever in a position or given opportunities to set aside our own First Amendment speech, to me, that is deeply concerning. Because if we can't stand up for our own individual rights or what we individually believe, how can I expect that individual, those individuals are going to do that for people throughout our community, for other people? So to me, again, I appreciate the process. I appreciate all the time that everybody put into it. If there's no other comments from the clouds above, I'll go ahead and motion to approve. Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Second.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Yes.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Carley?
Yes. So thank you to our appointments and reappointments to these commissions. Your work is very important. It actually is. And listen, the comments here tonight I take, and that we have a policy. I would hope that there would never be on any commission that there is somehow an inhibited First Amendment speech or that we're missing something. And hopefully that's when we adopt a policy that's business or a policy as a council, is to review them from time to time. I took into serious consideration, I think, the subcommittee that included staff, that included members of the community, that included this council, worked hard to identify who would be those people who would really lean in and work on these commissions. And I paid close attention to it. I did, and I thought that it was a good process. It's a lot of work, but it's a good process, and so I appreciate these reappointments. I do want to just say thank you to those outgoing members on the Parks and Rec Commission: Aisha Gutierrez, Brandon Klein, who stepped away just before at the end of the year, and also Ralph Baruman, and then also. With the appointment of David Leroy, he wasn't able to make it here tonight, but again, the feedback that I got from the subcommittee is I believe that we're going to have good working commissions that are doing the work of the council and not necessarily trying to focus just because of where they live, but the policies that come before the commissions are really for all of us. And all of us represent the city, and if there's issues or questions, that we should never stop raising that voice to what is good for the entire community or specific because of the representation of the district. So with that, I thank you and appreciate all of you who came out tonight. And when there are opportunities with the commissions, if you haven't had the chance to meet some of the new ones, is to be sure maybe stop by a commission meeting. Yes.
Can I just add one more question?
Sure.
So the process we had was open certainly to any changes, but did you interview people as well, or did you look at their application and the recommendation?
I did. So for clarification, when I looked at the list that the the committee put together is this is in an order of a forced ranked choice. Not uncommon to something that I've done in my whole career, was to start there and work through it. And as long as there was a strong feeling that I had that the candidate that was presented would absolutely be able to serve and do well, I paid attention to the work of the subcommittee very closely. And so all of those individuals I spoke with directly. And to the point where I made those to be filled. I didn't go and then do my own interviews of everyone. I let the process work and through a ranked choice be able to look through and see, are these good candidates? And unless there was a reason, and I found that the subcommittee did a very good job. So, does that answer the question?
Yes. I will just say that, who we have on commissions really is important, and they represent our city. And I did have the chance to see our commissioner on the Women and Girls Committee this weekend at an event, and she was just really happy that she's representing Vacaville, and she invited us to come to the Commission on Women and Girls. So I think it's really great that we have other people who are volunteering their time and their expertise to serve us in many ways on commissions. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next item. Madam City Clerk.
Our next item is a study session on entertainment zones, and Associate Planner Demir Powell and Captain Katie Cardona is here to present.
Careful.
Good evening, Mayor Carley, members of the council, and all those in attendance. So for a background on this item, on January 13th, 2026, we came to the City Council and held a study session with you all to discuss this program as well as the Parklet program, where we received direction from you all to proceed with this initiative. And for background, as a reminder, SB 969 authorizes cities to establish entertainment zones, and these zones allow alcohol to be consumed on public streets, sidewalks, or public rights-of-way within the zone boundary. An ordinance is required to establish this program, and it is best practice to also establish a management plan for each zone that is created. So the goals of this program is to activate Main Street and prominent public spaces in downtown Vacaville, increase revenue for downtown businesses, catalyze broader economic stimulus in the city, create vibrant public spaces, increase social activity, and enhance the community culture with new or enhanced entertainment, activities, and events. So for the project timeline, we kicked this off in January. We started with a lot of preparation for community engagement. We prepared mailing notices, a survey, we created a project webpage, we created flyers, brought those out door to door to people in downtown, and we also posted in the newsletter and social media posts, really trying to spread the word to everyone, not only in downtown, but throughout the city, that we are considering this program. And now we're currently in phase 2. We held 2 community meetings at the McBride Senior Center. We had about 24 attendees at the first meeting and about 10 or so at the second meeting, where we heard good feedback. And we're here today for the study session, and this week we will post a public review draft based on the feedback we hear from y'all tonight. And we will present the draft to the Planning Commission on April 21st, and then present to you all again in May. And then if the program is adopted on May 26th, then it would become effective in June 25th, and operations would be able to begin at that time. And staff are also looking at the Parklet program separately, but we did want to conduct the community engagement while we were already going through this process. So we did get feedback that we'll share with you all now, but we won't actually develop that program until later this year. So as for our approach for the entertainment zone program, we're calling it the Main Street Entertainment Zone due to its location. We are currently proposing to have a pilot program for the 2026 Creek Walk Concert Series that would sunset on January 1st, 2027. And this is so that we can assess the operations in the zone, make sure safety and coordination is effective, and that there are no issues that will occur from having this ongoing for different events. There has been some discussion as to whether it should just be one event during the Creek Walk Concert Series or the entire series, so we would like to hear feedback from you all and what you all think about that, so we don't make a larger commitment for the entire series versus one-time event. The ordinance will have some requirements in there. An applicant would need to submit a special event permit application to begin operations of the zone for an event. A management plan is required for each entertainment zone. The entertainment zone hours are from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., but this isn't a broad allowance. It's for events to operate within that time frame that may be specified further in the management plan. General liability insurance will be required for businesses, and there will be provisions for violations and penalties should any ordinances or nuisances occur, or ordinances are violated or any nuisances occur. And a biennial review will be required, so we would need to present the performance of a report of the performance of the zone to the City Council every 2 years, and the report may be made available to ABC. As for the management plan, as I mentioned, we are proposing a pilot program. We will have to designate an entertainment zone lead. This will be an organization that's responsible for coordinating with us on all operations that are occurring in the zone. And currently we've discussed with the Downtown Vacaville Business Improvement District the possibility of them being the lead for this zone, but that has not been finalized, and we're still open to discussion from anyone who would like to volunteer. And then as for participating businesses, city approval will be required for any businesses in the zone, and I'll show the map boundary in a second that shows all the businesses that are within the zone. But although that they're located within the zone, they would still need to apply with the city and be approved by both the city and ABC to operate. And then as for events, activation, and programming, we simply state that the zone would allow different programming and activities to occur, so anything such as lighting, games, and things like that would be allowed in the zone as well. That would just need to be submitted in the special event permit application for review. And the hours of operation for the pilot program will be the regular Creek Walk Concert Series hours from 6:30 to 9:30. And lastly, for health and safety measures, a security plan will be required to be submitted upon the submittal of the application for the special event permit, upon which the police department will review and make recommendations for any security measures that need to be incorporated. Lastly, there will be age verification measures, such as having a wristband, so you need to show your ID, and then the staff will give you a wristband. And signage will be posted around the zone boundary to show where people can and can't drink. So this is the proposed entertainment zone boundary. It includes Andrews Park for the pilot program mostly, but other events, and if the program is expanded outside of the pilot program, other events that occur in the park where alcohol consumption may occur could also be included here, and then it would extend down, include a portion of Merchant Street here, and lead down to Parker Street, and it is along both sides of Main Street and includes the town square. And then an alternative boundary is also available in the management plan, and this would be for events that don't have any operations in the park, to make sure people don't go down there. So things such as a car show, events such as the car show. And although the car show and other events may extend outside of this boundary, alcohol consumption would be limited to this area, and there will be signage and people to monitor, make sure people aren't carrying drinks outside of the zone. So as for the community outreach methods that we initiated, as I mentioned, we did hold the 2 community meetings at the McBride Senior Center. We did flyers, we posted on the calendar, project webpage, door-to-door handouts, and we also conducted stakeholder interviews as well with key businesses and organizations in the area. We did tally up our survey responses, and as of February 19th, 26 out of 30 people said they were in favor of having the entertainment zone program. 22 out of 30 said they were in favor of the parklet program. There were some concerns and comments. Residents were concerned about street closures and traffic issues that may cause. So as a part of this program, no additional closures are being proposed. Only events with existing closures would be involved in these operations. Then monitoring patrons and public safety. So this would be assessed during the submittal of the security plan, and police would review that and take into consideration factors such as private security that may be hired for events, or if the staff from restaurants and businesses in the area would be sufficient to monitor. And business participation, so there was some concern that businesses on the south side of Main Street wouldn't be able to participate because there was a thought that ABC had regulations prohibiting crossing the street with alcoholic beverages. So there is a correction that was made in the staff report. So you are allowed to cross the street with an alcoholic beverage in entertainment zones. So businesses on the south side of Main would indeed be able to take it over into Andrews Park during zone events. And then lastly, just in reference to the parklet program, residents are concerned about the loss of parking that would occur. To conclude, staff was diligent to engage with residents, businesses, stakeholders, and organizations to receive and address all feedback for this initiative. We're seeking input now from the City Council regarding concerns, goals, and outcomes, thoughts on the zone boundary, and the overall approach for the program. Input will be incorporated in the March public review draft and presented to the Planning Commission and City Council in April and May. And again, for community outreach, we're still accepting survey responses. A public review draft will be available this week, and we'll send out a notice for that. And comments may be sent to me or our department on the ordinance or management plan. Are there any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you for this, and I know there's work going into this on the back, the back end of this. A couple of questions. Tonight, we're not discussing the parklet program, correct? That'll be a different time. That's right. And then separate from that is with these larger areas for an entertainment zone, how will the town square be rolled into this, and or will it also be carved out? Because there are times that you're not closing on the street, and it tends to be a location where you can, and that it's pretty common to have events there that can fall under that. Would this be folded into that and then also handled as a subset of the larger area, because it is more of a town square that you might find in the city. It doesn't involve the entire city block.
Yeah, so we can update the management plan at any time with new events that are going to occur, and we can refine it and hone in on that area and just say, for this or these particular events, only the town square will be in operation, and it will have to be fenced off accordingly, or signage will be posted around the town square to make sure that no one's carrying drinks outside.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Vice Mayor Silva?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go back to the original concept that when this was first brought to my attention. Was the question is, how do we simplify? So, let's use town square as an example, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. The challenges. How do we simplify the process to where responsible adults can enjoy their adult apple juice in town square without having to cross over taped markers, and how can we streamline that process? So when I'm reading through the attachment and respectively even the presentation, it's still very confusing to me on what is that process, what's the cost, and all that. Can you please clarify for me?
Yeah, so they would have to submit a special event permit application, and this one application would cover all of the ongoing events. Now, we haven't discussed whether there should be a cutoff, will this last for 2 years? I think Angelina may have some information with how the special event permit process currently goes for ongoing events like that. And I'll let her speak in a second. But the idea is just the one-time review on the upfront, and then you'll be able to have those operations ongoing for a longer period of time, so you don't have to keep going around and around to apply every time that there's an event. And then once it's underway, then say there was an event in the town square every Thursday night or every Friday night, then it would just operate. It would just operate smoothly. A business would be able to have come down from the library here and take their drink down into town square, and that would occur weekly.
And that would be throughout the town square, or they're like different permits based on certain distances, or whether it be with our code or ABC's?
Different permits based on the event. So it's a new permit per event. So car show will need its own event. Any like a town square music series would need its own permit. And the Creek Walk concert series, each event would need its own individual permit.
Is there a cost savings to do that in bulk, if you will, depending on the organizer?
That's something we can look into. That's definitely something we could look into. I think it's possible to have one permit cover multiple events, but I would need feedback from Angelina to see if that's something that occurs now or if that's something that we can do in the future.
Because I imagine part of the reason why we charge a fee is because there's a cost to our staff to process those. So if it's something that's processed one time for, let's run with 2 years, then to me that should be compensated as part of that.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I'm not sure from other staff if there's a logistical error or conflict with that, but.
Why don't you come forward and share us your thoughts, Angeline?
Leaping from my seat.
Yes, I did.
So yes, as it currently stands with our special events process, it's usually the span of a calendar year. We don't get too many people coming and saying, hey, I want to put this through for every Thursday night for the next 2 years to have music in Town Square. But they're already putting in the special event application, and so what this would do is we will then weave this into our special event application saying, will you be looking at activating an entertainment zone boundary for this event? So it's not an additional on top of what they're already doing. It's more of a checkbox so that our special event committee can then follow up with them and say, okay, we see that you're interested in setting up an entertainment zone for the car show or for Thursday night music in the town square, and then being able to confer with our colleagues in community and economic development and making sure that they're meeting all of the program management requirements for the entertainment zone. Does that answer your question?
So
we're trying to
like with DVBID, well, I mean, it sounds like each event is still handled separately rather than, so does everything need to fit a certain design for that same event, or like?
So if it's an event series, so Music in the Town Square is an event series, it's already got an application in, and they've got it for Thursdays from May through June, and then again from August through October. That's just one event series. We treat it as the processing for the same as if there was just one event. So that she's not paying more or anything because she has multiple events within the year.
And why is this limit? Why are we limiting? So we have two suggestions here. One basically including the lower half section of Andrews Park, and one without. Why are we expanding that to everybody within the DVBID or within the bid? And basically going through the same process.
Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so we're looking at a confined area now, at least for the pilot program. That's something we can definitely explore in the future, but there are concerns around safety and operations, so we just want to make sure that it's something that businesses and city staff and police are able to manage before expanding further.
Would there be a problem if it's designated zone? So like, this is Entertainment Zone 1, Andrews Park Entertainment Zone 2, anything south or southwest of that Entertainment Zone 3. And so that entertainment zone or the permit process would be for that zone. The reason why is like, I can already hear other business owners or folks who want to put on events, being frustrated at, hey, why is everything always focused on that one strip? We pay into the system, we're engaged, we're volunteering time, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I understand that point, and we explored that in the beginning, but looking at the state legislature, it requires us to draw the boundary around or adjacent to all the businesses that'll be participating, and so if we were to extend it out to the other businesses, it would just create that concern where we haven't really addressed or done an assessment of how operations would occur and how we can manage everything on a smaller scale. So that's our justification for.
I'm confused on one item. So the love stroll, I believe, like where people can, I think you can take one out when you get served in a restaurant. You can take one on the sidewalk for that one event. Am I wrong? Oh, oops. Never mind. I was just joking. I knew it was adult apple juice.
You just fessed up.
Oh, no, I don't drink wine.
He enjoys it in the business.
But to your question, though, a
wish I
wine
could
stroll
enjoy one.
could now allow for public consumption because a downtown wine stroll event could get a permit. So to your point, yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Councilmember Freeman?
Thank you.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines without getting Chief Pullen too upset with me, but I'm thinking along the lines of the other businesses that are downtown, and if we add more events, perhaps some of the other restaurants that are in the downtown, part of the bid district, or part of our business improvement district, how can we add, like Morella's, there's a parking lot down there, what's to keep us from, and over on Cernan Street, we have people that are part of the bid. I'm not talking about stores or bars. I'm talking about primarily restaurants, places that are serving food and drink, excluding absolutely stores and perhaps bars. But is there a reason that we can't expand on that? I know you got to draw a circle around it, but I mean, do we have to do security? The bigger the circle gets, bigger security gets?
Yeah, the bigger the boundary gets, we would need people close to those boundaries to be able to ensure people aren't crossing outside of them. We would need additional fencing and any other security measures that are deemed necessary by police.
I just think that, our businesses downtown are suffering, and whatever we can do to enhance that, to attract tourism. I mean, even opening it up to perhaps Saturdays and Sundays for other events, to give a boost to our tourism downtown, to make it a more friendly, attractive environment without, we're not talking about past 10 o'clock at night, of course, because it's not that way past 10 o'clock at night, but how can we drive more people into our downtown stores if we don't include these other facilities, like over on Cernan Street, little Mexican restaurants, Morella's. I mean, I don't think that anybody ever goes into a liquor store and buys a 40 and pours it into a plastic cup and walks around downtown. That would just, but the reality of it is, it probably happens, right? So why not make it a little bit user-friendly where people aren't.
That's what the bag's for, Ted.
Excuse me?
That's what the bag's for.
Yes. All right. Can we take a look at enhancing that, though?
Absolutely. We'll take a look at that and we'll discuss with PD, and I'll give them a chance to comment either now or after some additional questions from council.
Thank you.
And I will say too that from the police department's perspective, our goal is to support all of our businesses downtown or anywhere, just to provide maintain the safety that both the businesses and anyone visiting those businesses feel there. So however we can do to support that, and no matter the location, the event permit process will involve us heavily. So we will be looking at, the geographic location of the event, the size of the event, and provide recommendations to ensure that we can maintain safety and make sure that it's an enjoyable event. And so we're happy to look at those locations and discuss that.
But there's no drinking allowed outside of the entertainment zone on the streets, correct?
Correct.
So the floats going by on Fiesta days, they can't stop in for a cold one real quick and jump back on the float, nothing like that? Yeah. All right.
No.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Sorry. Thank you. This is one of my questions got answered already about the south side. I was wondering how it's going to work because a little weird law was passed where jaywalking's not against the law anymore. So like, how is that going to work? If you can walk anywhere in front of any car you want legally in California, I don't recommend it, but jaywalking is no longer a crime. So how are you going to safeguard people walk across the street without saying, well, you didn't go through the crosswalk, now we're going to approach you? So I saw that as a problem, but that solution was just resolved with that. This is great. I had my concerns last time, so I actually reached out to my friend. He's actually Rotarian and for Santa Monica and on the chamber, and I asked him, I was like, hey, are we making a mistake? Are we making a mistake by doing this? I don't want to be the reason why some woman or some person got harassed or hurt because someone was just wildly drunk downtown. It's because of our decision. So I reached out and said, Greg, listen, this person's actually been to Vacaville about 5 times. He's like, your downtown in Vacaville is amazing. He's like, it's not Santa Monica. We're trying to revitalize the promenade. It's gone downhill. And he said, the biggest problem we have is a large homeless population, and you can't legally tell someone they cannot drink. So if they're old enough to buy alcohol, they wander in, they grab alcohol, and they start drinking on the street. He said, you don't have this problem. He said, and he was actually very optimistic about how Vacaville, this would work. He said, your community is amazing, and this will re-energize the right community and the right businesses and provide the business more income and more revitalization. So I was concerned with my decision, but he kind of reassured me that Vacaville is the kind of place that actually would benefit from this, and hopefully it goes up perfectly. Then we can, like rings of a tree, expand out over the future if it works and it's comfortable. But I was worried about the south side of the street, and also worried that we're gonna make a bad decision. Until he really just was a cheerleader from afar and said, this is gonna work. He said, Vacaville's community, that this is the kind of community that needs this. So that was my comments.
Councilmember Wiley?
Thanks for the information. Did you say initially that we would be deciding, or you wanted our input about whether it would be like a one-time deal or whether it be long range? So do you have a recommendation, or what do you think about that? It is, especially with the Creek Walk concert series, that's such a big area. So if we say, okay, yeah, let's do it, it might be nice to try it out a time or two before we say for the whole season, but I don't know. So I just wanted to get back to that point about what we were doing.
Yeah, there's certainly pros and cons to both. For the one time, obviously, if things don't go well, we're not committed to this each time. But if it does go well and people would really like to see it for the rest of the summer, then, it could be, it's something we could work out to get it started again for the rest of the series. So I think I would like to hear what our city manager would say as well, but I would recommend the one-time event, and then we could look at extending it from there internally based on what city council thinks as well.
Yeah, I can add on to that. There was a lot of desire from our downtown community to have this in place, and the challenge that I see with that is if we do one time and then they want to expand, then they'll have to apply for another special permit. So it will be costly for them. So we can always stop it if we see there's a lot of issues happening. We can cancel the permit. So that's an easier route compared to doing one event or permit for one day only and then having another whole process to go through. Because our special event committee takes about 30 days to process everything. They have to review everything. So it would be beneficial to do a pilot and then come back and do the reporting.
And we have the ability to stop it if we want.
Yes.
All right. And then the other question I have is, I think a part of an initiative toward this was so people that have their businesses downtown who sell alcohol would also have some business when there's other events selling alcohol. So at the Creek Walk, isn't there like a beer vendor that's there?
Correct, yeah, and then the businesses that are adjacent, like the Moxie and the other businesses down there, aren't able to participate, or the people who may like to frequent those places, they couldn't go grab something and then come back, so this would open that up to them.
Okay, I just want clarification on those two things. Thank you.
And there is a good question on that, because they'll have wristbands. So there'll be a way to manage this, obviously, if you have this. And so I think that might, it's going to be a learning process. So I appreciate it. Councilmember Fremont, did you have another comment before I go upstairs?
And I'll be real brief. But getting back to what you're saying is there's a lot of frustration at the Creek Walk, and we've all heard it, and that is very long lines to first buy the tokens and then very long lines to buy beer. And there's been a lot of frustration this last year. Many people said they wait 15 minutes in one line, 15 minutes on another line. So that's part of the reason that we're taking a look at this. But I would really like to, one more time, I think that we should make a list of food and drink establishments downtown that we could consider adding that are part of our downtown bid or close to the boundary. Perhaps being able to purchase a drink and bring it in, maybe not consume it where they're not supposed to. I don't know if that's even enforceable, but I would really like to take a look at what we can do to add other businesses downtown. I think that that's important.
And maybe part of this question can, because this is a pilot trying to figure that out, because this is going to require an ABC approval for consumption of alcohol, and that's the problem. Is they're going to have to approve our boundaries and that we can safely provide it. So I'm not sure what that answer is.
So we actually have an update on that. That was our assumption as well, that ABC would need to approve it because they require us to submit it to them. But I reached out to them to confirm, and it turns out that they just take it to have it on record. So we actually won't need their approval. Yeah, the approval's here.
Is that for type 41 and 47 licenses for the restaurants?
I'm not familiar. I'm not sure the exact type of license, but we can look into that. And we can draft a map, another map option, and we'll discuss it internally and give our recommendations, but we'll give all the options to the council to make a decision.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Vice Mayor Silva, and then I'm going to go to see if there's questions or comments from Councilmember Chapman and Councilmember Stockton.
Just questions for Cordona. So from our Vacaville PD perspective, what are any concerns or issues from your guys, from the PD's perspective on enforcement and safety?
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you.
So we were just also discussing, it kind of piggybacks on the previous comments, but it would be important for us to establish clear boundaries up front to establish what the entertainment zone is geographically, because it is important for us to be able to control that entertainment zone. And it will be important for us to have a clear expectations up front of what this entertainment zone looks like. So working with our business partners, working with city departments on, what enforcement does look like. Of course, outside of entertainment zone, the police department is responsible for any law enforcement. Inside of this entertainment zone, we want to make sure that the expectations are clear on what that looks like. In talking with other jurisdictions, it is not a surprise. And so if there's, a question on, okay, is this a violation? Is this something we need to deal with? Of course, the police department is going to be present, but those things have been discussed with the business that is, having this entertainment event. And we've discussed that up front. And so it comes down to communication. And I will say that our physical presence will be determined by the size of the event. And so that's going to be on a case-by-case basis. But again, we will be involved in that planning process from the beginning. It will be based on the size of the event, the hours of operation, the location. Clear signage will have to be required. And something else that's important is that because this is a pilot program, after each event, we need to just monitor and evaluate what worked, what did not work, what could we improve on, and learn from each event.
And just for clarification, I meant to say Pietro's, not Morello's. So I know that's a lot further away, so my apologies. That's what I had in mind, was Pietro's. Thank you.
Councilmember Stockton, did you have any input or questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So My question has to do with, giving our police department still the authority to contact people who are drinking in public. So for instance, if people are drunk and disorderly, our police department are still able to enforce 647F of the Penal Code and other statutes like that, correct?
Yes, absolutely. That's not differentiated within this entertainment zone. The entertainment zone simply allows the event to take place within that geographic location, but it absolutely does not change that. And we would.
So this won't negatively impact your reasonable suspicion to contact somebody that you think may be impaired?
Not at all. No, and we would want to make
Okay.
sure that is all discussed within the safety plan. We want to make sure that the attendees are safe and that, our business partners feel comfortable with the event.
The other question that I have is, are there municipal fines that we can put on people that accompany, penal code violations like drunk and disorderly, or minors in possession of alcohol, or establishments that furnish to, kids, people that are underage?
So of course, that doesn't change, but again, it comes to having those clear expectations up front with the event planner. So having these entertainment zones being something new to our community, that would be something that we would want to establish up front.
No, I completely agree. I think that we should establish some, maybe some fines and fees, that if people aren't being respectful of the opportunity to do this, there's an added layer of accountability. I also would like to see or encourage our police department to do, some of the stings with the different businesses and stuff by having minors. I don't know if that's still allowed, but some of the stuff that I've been involved in my law enforcement career was having minors go and try to purchase alcohol from some of these places. I just want to make sure that we're being respectful and that people are being responsible. Are there some of those factors that we could build into this entertainment zone ordinance?
Yes, we have language in the draft ordinance where you can be fined or you can have your ability to participate in the zone revoked as a business if you're doing any of those things or creating any other nuisance. And if police or anyone else is aware of major issues that are occurring now, they don't have to approve just any business that applies. So it could be excluded as well from the onset.
Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Stockton, for your questions and comments. I'm going to open this up to the public for any input, comments. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the council. I don't really have any question. Well, I have one question, but really my comments are this. So to be clear, I have experience going to cities that have this. And it's very contained. The people who live in the area, they know if there's an event, they know the rules. And so I think it's very clear to set a clear understanding and guidance in the rules. And I think we've heard tonight, we want to make sure that we're activating downtown. We want to make sure that the businesses that can participate in the plan, there's wristbands and they can serve, and it serves a greater purpose, whether it's with or without Andrews Park. I do believe the town square is a unique location so that if there is an event at town square, it doesn't activate that whole area and the streets are not blocked off. It needs to make sure that there's a unique location to that because we know we have events there. And it's usually around music and there's an activity there, and so it can be contained. It's important, for me, the larger the location, the more staff it takes to monitor and the more police it takes to ensure safety. Would that be a fair statement?
Absolutely. Again, our presence initially would be determined by the size of the event, but people want to feel safe, and whether we're they're staffed or not. If there's an issue, they're going to want the police department there. And, it will also incur certain costs as well. If this is a pre-planned event, that will require the police department. So these are all things that I think we will need to take into consideration. But again, we want to make sure that we're supporting a vibrant and safe downtown.
Well, I too, like Councilmember Freeman's point, we want to make sure that we include as many as we can. And I look at this boundary from an operational size, and it extends to areas that go down to Parker. And who knows, maybe there is other expansions in the future. I certainly do not see an entire bid, because the entire bid is about businesses. This is an entertainment zone. I think that just for the sake of understanding, this is a boundary, and it tends to mean that Main Street is included. If the streets are open to be able to walk, there's the section of Merchant that's open, there's the section of Dobbins. But for clear information, it doesn't mean the entertainment zone allows for the consumption behind the buildings, right? You look at, there's a boundary. That's the backside of businesses, because I don't believe that we can provide an adequate and safe environment, because you could walk down Parker and you could actually be along and around the backside of a boundary and say, well, that counts. So somehow there has to be clear understanding of communication. The purpose of an entertainment zone is for the containment of the location on the storefronts and the streets. And so somehow I think that requires some guidance. I also think that I do appreciate a series is the way to go, and hopefully as a pilot, what happens is every event there's an after action to understand it. How well did it work? How do we adjust it? How do we improve it, so that if this is going to continue, that it's successful? I think that's what we want. We want it to be successful, and we want the businesses to be able to participate in it. I also think that while there could be future entertainment zones, just understanding the staff it takes to expand this becomes problematic, and your ability to contain it in a safe way. Just to reach people, that could be problematic. And then I also want to make it clear that this is based upon specific events. So you can't have a business that's on Main Street have their own individual event, and because it's in the entertainment zone, somehow feel that they can just be out and about. It has to be based upon an event that's contained in the entire district. So this is a district event. This isn't a business event, meaning I can consume alcohol inside of a business. And then on any other night, because there could be a concert, there could be anything, you can go out and be in public. That doesn't protect them, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So the businesses would be clearly, this would be explained to them to say, you have to follow the ABC rules of consumption. However, if the entertainment zone is activated, then they know how it can be used.
Yes, and we can even clarify that with the signage that we post, listing the specific events, so people know that just because this other event is occurring downtown, it's not just all events downtown.
So here's a hypothetical. There's a particular entertainment zone activation. It could be because there's the creek walk. That doesn't preclude a business on Merchant or Main Street from having their own separate concert. That doesn't apply, does it?
That's right. It just applies to whether or not they're able to carry alcohol outside.
Okay. All right. So, and the people, as will be very clear, they'll have to purchase they'll have a wristband in their purchase, so that will be one form of identification.
And it'll be a unified wristband, and we can color code it to specific events, so we know this is exactly for this, and it won't get mixed up or anything.
And if it's a series, there's a unique way of looking at a series, so somebody doesn't go, I got one for the whole time, for the entire summer. Somehow there has to be a way so that even though you could differentiate it, but it's like anything else, you can't stretch it and slip it back on next week, right? The purpose is that you purchased the alcohol for consumption during the event, and they're one-time strip, the kind that that pull apart and they're of no use. I just want to make sure that it's just like any other event. You have to make sure that those are one-time disposable wristbands.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, well, I think you have a lot of feedback from the council, and I know that there's more.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Councilmember Chapman.
Thank you. Just had a thought. Now that we have the condos, the apartments being built downtown, that the creek walk is right across the street from their home. How do you handle someone who decides to bring a drink outside, drink with them, to join in the festivities? What would happen to them if they are not wearing a wristband? But that is that's their home.
Yeah, so whoever is monitoring the event will see that they're not wearing the wristband, of course, and then they will be directed to proceed to get one, show their identification, get the wristband, and then no outside alcohol will be allowed, so they'll be required to dispose of it and purchase a drink from one of the participating businesses.
So they would have to spend money at home in order to come outside to enjoy themselves with others.
Well, to be clear, I don't know that there's any homes that are.
Well, we have the, what's that, par? It just went up.
Yeah, 700 Park.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's farther away. You would actually have to leave your home and walk past Wilson and walk past Davis Street to actually get to the entertainment zone. So.
I'm thinking of them being like their own main. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. This would be a pilot project if it can come back and get approved by May in time for the Creek Walk series. But hopefully there's enough information, and then just be adaptive along the way if we have to address it. So appreciate it. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our final item of the evening, item C.
Yes. This is a resolution authorizing the restoration of 6 delayed firefighter positions to be added to the April 2026 Fire Academy as firefighter paramedics, and authorizing a budget augmentation in the amount of $51,850 to the 2025-26 fiscal year operating budget. And Deputy Fire Chief Alex Nero and Fire Chief Drayton are here to present.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council staff, it's a pleasure to have the opportunity here tonight to present this item. Alex Nero is going to go ahead and go through the item. It's a quick slideshow, and then we're happy to answer any questions you have after that. Thank you.
Okay, a little background on this one. Over the last 5 years, fire departments had a fairly significant increase in call volume, 26% over 5 years. That's fairly large. And over the last 10 years, we've had quite a bit of growth in the fire department suppression, including 2 fire stations, an additional ambulance, and then our minimum staffing has grown during that 10 years from 19 to 29. That's a big growth. And as you all know, our minimum staffing is the minimum number of suppression firefighters deployed on any given day, and that's a contractually required amount of force every day. Currently, we've had several staffing challenges, as you all have heard, and particularly over the last year or so, we delayed several positions. Initially, it was firefighters, 3 firefighters and 2 paramedics, 2 firefighter paramedic positions. We changed that to be 6 firefighter positions, so from 5 to 6. The idea being that delaying those positions would hopefully reduce our salary costs. And what we found over the last year is that it actually increased our costs because of the overtime required to backfill those positions and the impact that it had on sick leave, injury, on-duty injuries, and that sort of stuff. As of today, hot off the press today. We have 20 total vacancies on the suppression side of the fire department. 20 total vacancies that we're filling. 13 of those are vacant positions. Those are unfilled positions, including the 6 that are listed above there. 6 of them are long-term injury between IOD, work comp injury, and personal injuries, and one of them is a long-term military deployment, several-year military deployment that's not available for staffing. So all those 20 positions are requiring us to hire overtime to maintain minimum staffing. That demand on our staffing has increased fatigue, decreased employee morale, it's increased sick leave. We've seen increased sick leave usage, correlation, not necessarily causation, but very likely causation. And we've had an increase in on-the-job injuries over the last several years, all of which we believe has been impacted by our difficulty in hiring. And those 20 positions don't count contractually obligated vacation positions and day-to-day sick positions. So we're hiring significant amount of people on overtime regularly to maintain that minimum staffing. Our proposed solution is to restore the 6 delayed firefighter positions and convert those firefighter positions to firefighter paramedic positions. What that would do is add 6 firefighter paramedic positions to a current hiring process that we're in the middle of right now. That would fill, if we restore those positions, that would fill all 13 of those vacancies previously mentioned. They would all be hired in April, and due to the fact it takes quite a bit of time to train these people to minimum staffing, they would be deployed as minimum staffing firefighter paramedics in October of this year, October 2026. The 6 firefighter positions, this isn't all 13, just the 6 firefighter positions, we anticipate will have a $1.3 to $1.5 million annualized $1 million impact to our overtime to the good. We can't nail that down exactly because part of that impact is the work comp impact and the sick leave impact, and the increase in those things is hard to get exact. Somewhere between $1.3 and $1.5 million to the good for our overtime is what we anticipate. And the difference there, the low end is if it has a relatively small impact on sick leave and on job injuries. High end would be if it has a larger impact on sick leave and on the job injuries. Fiscal impact here is one time the fiscal year 25-26 fiscal impact is $52,000 different from our current plan, our current hiring plan, and then the ongoing annual position cost is $141,000. That ongoing cost is the difference between firefighters and firefighter paramedics for those long-term positions, and the $51,000 is undelaying. I'm not sure if that's a word, not delaying those delayed positions for the rest of this fiscal year. All of this is general fund positions. So strategic plans, goal 1, ensure public safety, goal 4, maintain effective and efficient services are both impacted by this. And our recommendation for you folks tonight is by simple motion to adopt this subject matter resolution. And with that, as promised by the chief, quick presentation. We're ready for questions.
Thank you very much for bringing this to us. I understand you can't answer it, but the reduction in overtime is designed to be at least a net neutral, which is the reason why the only cost moving forward is just the difference in paramedic. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Vice Mayor Silva?
So yeah, that was I guess my one strong criticism of this is I appreciate the extra data in the presentation. I'd like to see that in the attachment. I've involved in different conversations on this item. And the key question that I have, it relates to the mayor's question, but just to dig a little deeper on that. So walk me through this. So I understand the one-time cost to get the one-time cost to get folks into the fire academy. I understand that, but the goal is to reduce what is the cost of the overall net change. I know we say we have a conservative estimate, as far as 1.3 to 1.5 to overtime. There's going to be a net neutral. Everything's going to balance out except for paramedics. So what is that cost?
So that cost is roughly $400,000 is the net, and then every year after that, you'll see the 1.3, 1.5.
Total for those specific 6 positions?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, and then, just give me a second. So we talked, in the staff report, it talks about predictability. So I know, it was alluded to, but in what ways are we expecting these added positions to help address the overall cost, not just to the budget, but also to the cost of morale, to, work-life balance and those other things that are hard to quantify?
So let me help with this. So for example, we staff in one of 2 ways. One staffing model is called a constant staffing model. Every vacancy requires overtime. Very unpredictable. It's very hard for me to control that overtime cost when every single vacancy requires overtime. Because it doesn't matter the rank. If it's the lowest rank in the department that creates the vacancy, because I have to fill that spot, I may be happen to hire the highest paid spot to fill that vacancy. So it's very unpredictable. The model that most agencies are going to is what's called a buffer system, and that's a system Vacaville has. We have 15 buffers to reduce overtime, so there's no overtime cost. So for example, each shift, we have 3 shifts, A, B, C. Each shift, when we're completely staffed, we have 5 what we call buffers. So 5 people can be off without overtime. There's no cost. And it's very predictable for us, and it's easy for us to track and identify our risk when we have a buffer system, and that's why we have it. What has happened over time is we have not filled those buffers, so we have 13 vacant spots. So every hole has to be filled. So what that means is a lot of my folks do not get to go home. This morning, for example, we probably had 3 or 4 what we call mandatory reports where they don't get to go home. They work their 2 shifts, they may be here for 3 or even 4. And that's very unpredictable, and it's very taxing. It's a mental health issue for me. It generally will always see an increase in sick leave, an increase in IODs because people are tired. They're not getting their rest. So having these 6 hired in the 7 we already have in the process to get hired, that's a total of 13. That's going to put a huge relief for our organization to give people rest, a mental health break, and adequate time off so I can control the overtime a lot better. Hopefully that helped.
And I think at like one point, it's been explained to me different times, but when I worked in healthcare, specifically in the ER, which is different than the service that you guys provide, like those 48-hour shifts is long, even with a power nap. So, and then added on to that, I can relate to a point to that. But one question I know has been explained to me is how do we, when we take in consideration the longevity of life, mental health, work-life, family balance, because we want families to be, families are part of this process too. At what point is there other ways to look at how we evaluate what's more cost-effective and beneficial to the overall human health, the family health, and the service that we provide? So I know there's no clear answer right now, but the other thing is maybe more related to, I keep seeing this more for the city manager. We're getting different budget augmentation requests. So for me, I would like to see if there's, what else are we expecting to come up? Number 2, related to that, if this department is experiencing morale decrease, I know there's a different demand on their daily or multi-daily schedule. What other concerns are there with their other departments?
So I can answer that a little bit. We have concerns of we have a lot of delayed hiring, we have frozen positions, so yes, staff is overworked, but we have to balance our budget. So in this particular scenario, what was happening was the purpose why these positions were delayed was to have cost savings, but it resulted into additional overtime, so we did not achieve our goal. So that's the reason we're proposing to restore these positions. In other areas, yes, there might be morale issues, but we're able to maybe delay the work and make it happen without having this kind of impact that the fire department is having, because their MOUs are unique, they have minimum staffing requirements. In other departments, we can possibly say, okay, can we delay this project? Or, we're going to put projects on hold. For example, a lot of training has been on hold for a lot of departments. So that's how we're addressing it. We do plan to bring back sometime either at the next or the following meeting, one of the meetings in April, what the future looks like for the city. So right now we have 2.5% cut. We are also going to start looking at 5% cut, because if the tax measure doesn't pass, then we have to start planning for that. And nothing is decided at this time whether we are even going to put it on the ballot. So we have to start preparing for that and then communicate back to the council as well as the community. If we have to do 2.5% cut or a 5% cut, what does that look like? And then we will propose what are the kinds of programs and services either we'll have to cut or put on hold. So staff just needs time to evaluate all of that. We're in the process of doing that, and we'll bring back a study session to the council with all of those details.
Thank you. And last question I have, and I'll direct it to City Manager, is in the past there were, if I understood correctly, there were concerns about having qualified applicants. And I'm not, so here we have 6. So there was a concern of a lack of qualified applicants in the applicant pool. How have things changed to where we feel we can identify 6 additional qualified applicants out of the total?
Well, I can start and then I can have Chief add more information to it. We did change our requirements for the job. We removed the firefighter requirement, so that encouraged a lot of applicants for us. And then Chief, if you would like to add more things.
Yeah. Part of this process, we opened the recruitment again for a very short window, which was 2 weeks. And that 2 weeks, we got 42 qualified applicants. I interviewed 16 of them, and we're able to meet these 6. So for some reason, for us, it worked. I just spoke to a neighboring agency of ours this morning. They opened their recruitment, they got 9 applicants. So for some reason, this recruitment, it worked out well. We got plenty of people to pick from, and so kind of worked by reducing the requirement a little bit. And that's why we need the 20-week academy, is because we reduce the requirement because we're going to teach the requirement instead of having them have it.
What was the other cities, so just the way I know we're better than them?
That's not good.
We just talked, yeah.
And I can address the second part of your question, Vice Mayor Silva. That was related to the budget augmentations.
Yes.
So for budget augmentations, the way we do the budgeting is because we're trying to be very conservative in our projections of the budget. We have to bring back as the staff works through, like for example, in Q1, we brought about $800,000 worth of augmentations, but $670,000 of those were either compliance related or, the prices had gone up from the point when we proposed the budget. One example I always give is, we didn't anticipate the price of the pool cleaning chemicals would go up. And that was exponentially higher, so we had to bring it back because we do need to clean the pools. If we don't, then we have to shut down the pools. The other example was a broken slide in a playground. So some of those items then can cause us liability and more in the dollars if we don't act on them promptly. So those are the areas we look at very carefully before we bring back the augmentations. There are some other areas where there's absolutely room for growth and improvement for us, and that we will be looking and working with the senior leadership team as part of the next budget cycle.
Thank you.
I'm not sure who's online. You may mute yourself unless and until you need to make a comment. It's loud in here. Councilmember Wiley?
Thank you for the information and a plan going forward to reduce the overtime. I think it was a couple of years ago when we voted for the buffer positions, and then because of the cuts, we didn't fill them then. So I'm glad that we're able to do that. And I also think it's great that we have got the quality candidates. That's what I was going to ask as well. But I just want to clarify for anyone who might have been watching, when city manager said they removed the firefighter requirement, that's because it's going to be taught in the academy. So the people that you're looking at already have certification as a paramedic, and then they're just adding this on. So we are hiring firefighters that are firefighters when they're finished with the academy. So I just wanted to, is that clarified correctly?
That is correct.
Yes. And then my question is, once they're in the academy, do they receive pay from the city of Vacaville? Are they paid to be in the academy?
They are.
And then do most candidates make it through the academy, or like how many do you usually lose? Are you having 13 this time, or how many are you having?
Yes, we're having 13, and the way it has been done in the past is we would put people in an academy, and they would go through a 20-week academy. And for us, the challenge is your medic skills. So when we complete the academy and we put you on the floor, you have a 1-month window to get all your sign-offs. Generally, that's where people struggle, is on that 1 month. So we end up releasing 1 or 2, maybe 3 from that process. And I've already invested 20 to 26 weeks in that employee. This time, we're putting that portion in the front half before the academy starts to make sure their medic skills are where they need to be. So if I do need to release anybody, I'm only out, 3 or 4 weeks of pay versus 26 weeks of pay. Because it's more likely we're going to release somebody due to their medic skills, not the academy skills. So this time we're putting that in the front half. And generally we do release 1 or 2. This recruitment, myself and Alex, we have spent a lot of time trying to vet people with good attitudes and the willingness to train. Not so much the skills, because it's a different time. So it's more important to us to have somebody who's willing to train and somebody who has a good attitude.
Right. And then because you have people running the academy, do we anticipate an increase in overtime during the academy because you have now 2 people teaching the academy, or however many people are doing the training?
Short answer is yes. That's how we run our academies, and that's part of it. That's part of the academy budget that you all have approved. When we come to you with an academy budget, that includes the overtime for the instruction.
All right.
But there's no way if we can do this without impacting our staffing to an extent.
Right. And then, is it 50-50, or how much overtime is mandatory and how much is volunteer?
So we always try to, we want people to volunteer. I also have to protect them, and I can't allow them to work 8-9 days straight. So we have a maximum amount of hours that they can volunteer for, and then they have to be off.
Good. So there's rules about that.
Yes.
All right. Well, I appreciate the effort, and I hope that we are successful with everything and it achieves the goal that we're looking for, because I know it's really hard on the whole crew when they do have to work so much and are understaffed, and so this hopefully will solve those problems. So thank you for bringing this forward.
Councilmember Freemel.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for putting this together, you guys, and the interviews that you do and all the work that you put in. And I get it. I mean, in the private sector, running a business, when I was onboarding people, it was always expensive, and you hire somebody and you pour tens of thousands of dollars into them, and you're suffering along the way because you're shorthanded. But, I just know from personal experience, workman's comp, morale of my people All of that was affected, and I had some that loved the overtime and they wanted all they could. They built their lives around overtime, which is not a good model for living. And so I know there's costs associated with doing that, but the benefit is you get to take on more customers, and you guys are taking on more customers, and we're getting ready to, we've got more housing that's coming in, more development that's coming in, more responsibility coming in. So I know this is part of the process, and I just want to say I tip my hat to your efforts, and I'm kind of just sorry that we're so far behind. And money is tight for every department. All of our departments are suffering. Water, utilities, just Parks and Rec, everybody. But this is the one where lives are lost if we're not performing correctly. So I'm ready to make a motion to approve unless...
I haven't even gotten to...
Oh, I'm sorry.
I haven't even got to the public. I know. But I appreciate that. But I'll bring it back around to you. Real quick, thank you for this. I think the key is that you've already answered most of the questions. It's important also to understand, we use the term buffer. I understand you're chasing a delta on overtime, right? There's a balance to where you can save money by using overtime, and then it can cost you if you're using too much overtime. And so I can appreciate what it means to have a buffer. If anybody understands, all your airlines have a relief system because you can never fly an aircraft that's understaffed. And you have minimums, and as long as you're meeting the minimums, I really do appreciate the fact that what we're focusing on is how to get the right people in the seat. And I think this transition is healthy. And we want to make sure that we can actually be fiscally responsible. And so I'm aware of what it means to be able to chart what you believe will be a $1.3 to $1.5 million in reduction. And that's just the cost of 24/7 service. And I understand it and I appreciate it just because I saw it on the police side. Councilmember Chapman, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Okay. First of all, first responders, I support you totally, 100+%. However, I have a concern, and I've already shared my concerns with the city manager, and I am going to ask that if we go forward to approve this augmentation this evening, I want a study done of the fire department and the police department. If we're having
Councilmember Chapman, it's really hard to hear you. It's muffled.
Is it really? Okay. Is this better?
That's a little better, yes.
Okay. You got my phone. All right. I was saying that I've already spoken with the city manager and shared and asked some questions. And I'm going to ask, if we do pass this evening, that we look deeper into both our fire department and our police department. If we're having high worker comp claims and call-outs, we need to make sure that we have safety equipment appropriate to take care of our employees. I'm concerned about, we have made several augmentation, and I know the city manager has already touched on that this evening. We have we're in deficit spending, and we're continuing to approve additional or augmentations for various things. I haven't had an opportunity to really look at the MOU, the contract, but what about, I have a question right now of the city manager. How is the police department looking right now with their overtime?
I don't want to go there tonight. This is the fire issue, and we're going to go down a path of talking about a police department. We're going to limit it. We're going to limit it to the fire department.
All right. The only reason why I'm asking, that's a key point that's being addressed tonight, or it was presented about the overtime. And there's the possibility that we may have a need to address the police department also. So if we're going to augment, let's look at our first responders and the needs of all of them. And I really have a problem with all these augmentations we are making in deficit spending. So I am going to ask that we do a study. We look deeply into both of the departments. Because when we looked at, when the budget was brought to us and every department had to make a cut, and they chose to cut these unmet open positions, then we all have to pitch in. We all have to do our due diligence to hold steadfast to get us through this. So that's where I am right now. I think more information needs to be gathered. And why is it coming up just now? Is this just now happening? How long have we been in deficit spending and we've had these positions vacant? No, I'm sorry, that was wrong. Not how long we've been in deficit spending. How long have we been dealing with all this overtime? And it's just now coming up now.
Well, I don't think there's going to be a clear answer tonight. I think what has changed is there's been a transition, and we have an interim fire chief who's reviewing this and trying to be fiscally responsible and bringing this to the attention of the city manager to address this, and has come up with a plan of how to reduce the use of overtime, because of the fact that if it's a 1-to-1 overtime, it's 1.5 to 1 every time you're filling a seat. And so that is a cost that you can't contain. And so I don't disagree that it's important to understand what's driving the overtime, but I will say that I completely disagree that we need to hire a consultant and study the police and fire department. I think what we need to do is allow the fire chief and the city manager to be working through a plan to get the appropriate staffing, because when you don't have appropriate staffing, your department burns out. Same thing could happen in the police department, but we're not hearing that right now in the police. So I don't want to go in the direction of the police department. I personally appreciate that, and I think you can follow up with that. If you want to ask at the end of this business item, at the end of the night, if there's a desire to take a further action, I will allow you to do that.
Okay. I did not. Hopefully you. It was. I was not asking for a consultant to be hired. That's the last thing I want to ask for. However, an internal analysis of the situation of what's going on can be done without having to pay a consultant to come in to do an analysis.
Well, I'm going to defer this to the city manager as far as what would be the best process moving forward, because I suspect that you could work with the fire chief and to understand and to develop a strategy. So I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Councilmember Chapman, we have already started working on that. So fire chief has already taken certain steps. We have a software where we track the time for our fire department, and he has already started breaking it down. It used to be just 1 or 2 object codes, and now he's breaking down, was this because of injury on duty? Was it because of workers' comp issue? Was it because of vacation? So what is causing that overtime? He's already started making those changes so we can track it better. And as part of our next year budget process, we will be evaluating all of the budget items line by line and looking at, why are we doing so many augmentations? Is there a way maybe we can plan ahead? Certain things we cannot control, we have to bring back for augmentation, such as, we can't predict if the price increases. We cannot predict if a playground breaks, or if, we are short on our chemicals for cleaning up the pool. At that time, we bring it back to the council to say, is that a decision that council wants to make for us not to purchase that? And then it comes with the cost of closing down the pool, for example, if we're not able to purchase the chemicals. So we'll have to evaluate all of that, and like I mentioned earlier, we'll come back with a study session to council and say, this is what the future reduction looks like to balance our budget, to address our deficit, and what programs or services we'll have to cut or, the worst case scenario is layoffs and we don't want to go there, we have to be very cognizant before we approach that, because there's other ways where we would be able to balance the budget. So we will bring that back, the 2.5 and 5% cut and what that looks like and the impact to the services to our community. Hopefully that addresses your concerns for now, and we can discuss further.
Does that address it, Councilmember Chapman?
All I can say is I hear the city manager.
Okay.
I heard what she said.
Okay. Councilmember Stockton?
Yes, thank you. I really appreciated the effort that went into this item. I want to thank Chief Drayton and Deputy Chief Nareau. I think this is really good assessment, right? Like, we had good intentions to make the cuts that were, across the board, but they were quick to identify that there was we weren't getting the result that we had hoped to achieve through those cuts. And so I think that's really important that they brought this to our attention so quickly. I too agree that this is a service that we provide that is I think extremely important to our community. I want the folks that are showing up in ambulances to help our community members to be alert and able to perform their duties at the level of expectations that we have for them in the city of Vacaville. And so it sounds to me like our administrators, are doing a good job in the fire department. I would expect that if we have any departments that are having challenges or there are unforeseen results that aren't meeting our objectives, that they would bring those to our attention so that we could address them. So hopefully with these changes, we'll see that $1.3 or $1.5 million savings, or at least not going backwards, right? The one thing that Councilwoman Chapman brought up that I do think is important is, I do agree that that we're spending money, right, and we're deficit spending, and I do think that as it relates to this conversation that we're going to have in the future that the city manager brought up, we really do need to look at, where's our money tied up, what can be unencumbered, and where should we prioritize putting that money to be able to manage things until we start getting additional revenue generation, whether it's through sales tax or continued investment in our community. So I think for me, recognizing that this, the previously frozen positions wasn't having the impact that we want, I think it logically makes sense that we would add these additional 6 positions now at a time where we're already paying for that academy to go through, so that we're not doing 2 academies, which I know could be expensive. So I think that this is timely. I think that this is good advice. Chief Drayton, I'm grateful for you and Deputy Chief Nareau bringing this to our attention for us to take action on quickly.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I share something else?
Yeah, Councilmember Chapman.
Thank you. A thought came to mind, and that is the recent report that came out from the PD, the fire department, regarding their responses for 2025, and we see that the majority of the responses to the community is for ambulatory or for our paramedics, not so much, and fire season hasn't started, but that is way up. And our focus at one time, I recall being told when I first came on the council, I believe it was, and I was being introduced to the academy, and I had my own perception of what was being offered and the training that was available within the Solano County, especially when I was coming from the College Board. So with that, if our focus is on paramedics and we are paying our employees, our firemen, fire people, we're asking that they be credentialed as firefighters and as paramedics. It was my understanding at one time that we weren't able to get as many applicants because some of the individuals didn't want that dual role. So can I ask, what are you seeing? What is the chief seeing right now as far as the applicants? Where is their desire? Do they want to be fire people or do they want to be paramedics? Have we ever had independent paramedic service? And I know, that everything is so much better when you have your own, especially when they're homegrown. However, is it time for us to even look at, maybe it's time for us to compare an independent service rather than having our internal ambulatory program? I'm just wanting to look at everything right now.
Chief, do you want to comment?
Absolutely. What I would consider is the expected level of service for anybody in this state is paramedic service. Everybody in this county provides ALS service. We have the uniqueness that we transport. For us, we're able to provide a higher level of service because I have folks that can do fire and EMS at the same time. It's a much better system, and it's a much better level of service for the community that we provide. And it's almost expected. I mean, I would never recommend not hiring medics. When one of our residents are sick and they need help, I need to be able to give them medication, narcotics, and the appropriate treatment to help them get better. So, my opinion, I've been around for 40 years. There's no better service than advanced life support, and I would never recommend splitting the two out. It's just not a good idea right now. I mean, you see agencies do that when they're really, we're not there yet. If we ever get in a spot where we need to do some cost-saving measures, there's a happy balance, because when I have a fire, I got to have the right amount of people on that fire to keep the fire to the area of origin. So I can't just, start to split them off and have all what we call single role, and then the rest of the department, because now I just completely decimated my side for vehicle accidents, structure fires, all the wildland incidents, that kind of stuff. Right now, every single person, all 29 of mine a day, can be put on a fire, or they could be put on a school bus wreck on the freeway. So we're a all-risk department, and that would be the only way I would recommend to move forward.
Thank you,
Hopefully
Chief.
that answered.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. And I think just for clarification, even if other cities in their fire services, they have paramedics too, correct?
Every city in this county only hires medics.
I just want to make that clear. Thank you for that. I want to open it up to the public for any comment. Seeing none, I will bring it back, and I want to turn it back over to Councilmember Freeman. You wanted to make a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the augmentation.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Is there any other further comment?
Just one comment.
Vice Mayor Silva.
One thing that I think Dr. Chapman brought up, Councilmember Dr. Chapman brought up, was about some evaluation on the injuries. So if I understood correctly, there's some data being collected on causes of overtime. I personally think it's worthwhile every department look into what are root causes of injuries and how we go about mitigating that, what support council can help support with that. That's just a comment or request.
Yeah, just want to add, we are doing a deep dive on our overtime. We're going back 5 years of overtime. We're doing a very deep dive to be able to be accountable for our overtime, and for me to be able to say what we need to be budgeted for overtime and where our overtime is being spent. I like to have answers when I'm asked by you folks and my boss when she says, how much have we spent on IODs? I want a number. How much have we spent on sick leave? I want to be able to have that number. So we're doing a deep dive. We're about 85% through the data. I'm going to have finance validate the data, and then we'll be back hopefully for the next fiscal year to try to educate and to be able to give us the adequate amount of overtime for us to stay within that window, right? I don't like going overtime. That makes me look bad. I don't like doing that. So I'm trying to put together a system that I can be held accountable for overtime, or whoever the fire chief is, that they're held accountable for their overtime. But I have to do that analysis first to get that right number and to be able to be comfortable with that number so we don't go over like we have been in the past.
So thank you. Just to clarify, I appreciate all that effort on OT. The other side I think is valuable, and it's done in many other industries, and maybe we do it, I'm just not aware of it, is doing a deeper dive into causes of medical leave or any type of injuries, and what measures can be done, if possible, to mitigate or reduce those injuries from occurring in the future.
Yeah, and that's done after every injury. We evaluate to determine. I mean, there was times in my past where our specifications for a vehicle was causing an injury. Because every injury we look at, we want to find out, is it a fireground injury? Is it an off-duty injury? If it's on duty, why are we? So we spend a lot of time investigating our accidents and our injuries and try to make sure we don't duplicate it. So if we start seeing the same injury, a knee injury from stepping out of the cab of an engine, I've had 2 or 3 of those in 1 year, and we determined the step that the manufacturer provided wasn't big enough for the boot. So we do spend a lot of time on trying to analyze every injury. If they're off duty, I can't do much about that, but when they're on duty, we do spend time looking at, like, why are we starting to see a pattern, and then we investigate it.
To our city manager, you have any
I
further
just
comment?
wanted to add one more comment on the overtime. We are evaluating with all of the departments. Not every overtime results in an injury. Like, we have 24/7 technology support for our police and fire. We also have public works support. We also have water meter readers, for 24/7 if you have a water leak or something. And then we have special events, which also result into overtime, for which we do not charge. So if we're having fiesta days, for example, last year, I believe our police department had almost $70,000 in overtime just because of that 4-day event. So there's a lot of factors that cause overtime, and we're evaluating each one of them so we can then work with the departments and bring some sort of report back to the city council, not only for just overtime, but also this is the cost of special permits or special events. So we're looking at all different things. Thank you.
I have just one more question. Would you say that the majority of your injuries happen at the end of your shifts or the beginning of your shifts?
It's not obvious enough that we could point to one of those, so I would say random. I'm going to take a stab and say random. If it was one or the other, I think we would have seen it.
But I think
and a lot of them are overuse, cumulative injuries.
My point is, people get tired, and that's when injuries occur.
I can say anecdotally that as we see people working more overtime, we see more on-the-job injuries.
Okay. Thank you. Can I have a roll call?
Councilmember Stockton?
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie?
Yes.
Councilmember Chapman?
Councilmember Chapman?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I said yes.
Yes, okay.
Councilmember Freeman?
Yes.
Councilmember Wiley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Silva?
Yes.
Mayor Carley?
Yes. Thank you. And
Mayor Carley,
yes.
can I ask, you said I could ask. I would like to ask that, and I know the chief has stated they're doing a deep dive, but I would like to have a report brought back to the council following its deep dive to give us more insight into how we can help our employees. What can we do to assist them in staying healthy?
And I think you've covered that from a city manager perspective, working with the departments to understand what is the best understanding of what's driving overtime. And also, I think from a budget perspective, what is an appropriate amount of overtime so that budgeting is appropriate. Is that something you're going to work on?
Yes, absolutely. So as part of our budgeting process, for example, I believe we budget a lower number for the fire department, but the overtime is almost 3 times. So we are going to take these projections, reduce the overtime projections, and then give them the appropriate budget so then they can be held accountable to that overtime dollar figure.
Yeah, that's good. Councilmember Wiley?
I don't have a comment on this, but before we adjourn the meeting, I had one other request. So do you have anything else, or can I ask it now?
Yes, so thank you very much. So now it's appropriate, yes.
Just because, people watch the meeting and they hear the comments, so before the meeting concludes on the record, I would like either Public Works Director Oxley or the Director Matsumiya to address the comment early that said the city spent $20 million on the solar, because it's my understanding that we did not pay for that up front, and I just don't want the public to hear that statement and think that the city did pay $20 million.
Yeah, that's fair. If you can answer that, please come forward.
In one sentence or less.
Yeah.
Sure, so just to clarify.
No discussion, just a response.
We didn't pay for that up front or out of the general fund or anything. We did a financing for that, and so all that money was essentially borrowed, and that's going to be paid back through the energy savings. It's not money that's going to come from the general fund or anywhere else.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, with that, it's 8:55. Thank you, Vacaville. We'll stand in adjournment. Good night, Vacaville.
Good night.